The middle one's okay. Huh?
The only people are outside?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. There's a bunch of people outside.
Should be crowded.
That's very. Yeah.
Real dry thing.
Don't open it now.
So tell Gina.
Gina, we're going to do the pledge and then do the swearing in so we can be within the guidelines. Okay? Thank you.
So.
Tyler? Can you, yeah, I have 1 minute. Just tell them to come in. I know. God, when I pulled up this, I was like.
I'm telling you, I'm just.
I pulled in
Looking, what the hell did I miss?
on the agenda. I saw all these people. I'm like, oh my God. I pulled into the church parking lot. I was gonna call. But I was like, what the hell was on the agenda?
I think it was the marijuana vote.
I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, the land trust isn't on. I know. I was like, the land trust isn't on. What the hell is all this? Honestly, I pulled in over there saying, I'm calling in sick.
So you wanna do it? I wanna do.
Thank you. That's fine. They can know I wanted to call in sick. We have to open.
Do the pledge and then.
Okay, all right. Today's my nephew's birthday.
Oh, and I can hear it.
Some of them, yes. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay. Which,
Yes, 1, 2, 3. I am going to call the June 13th Town Council meeting to order. If everyone would please stand and pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this moment, at this time, I would accept a motion to move the swearing in of police officers to
So
this.
moved.
Second. Thank you. Discussion, hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
For 3 minutes?
You can have the floor. If just squeeze in, we're gonna close a blind eye to this whole over these limit.
We don't see.
Come on in.
Plenty of room on this side.
Come on in.
Come on in,
Guys.
come right in.
To the front.
If there's people over here, we can open that door. You guys can leave, you can leave that door open so they can hear. Stand in the doorway, you can hear. Thanks.
Come on in. Is everybody in that wants to be in, that needs to be in? Parents, sisters, brothers, children, friends, everybody in that, come in, just come in. Come in so you can hear it.
Why, thanks.
Thank you. I'm going to ask everyone to be quiet for a few minutes. Chief Lindell would like to say a few words before we begin the swearing in.
So first of all, thank you everybody for coming. I want to introduce myself. My name is Chief Gina Lindell. I'm the Chief of Police in Foster. I have been here for a year. And in a year, we've seen some amazing changes with staff, policies, procedures, the rapport with the officers in town. So I want to say this is my first promotional process, holding my first promotional process. I'm extremely proud of all the candidates. They all did very well. As we all know, there can only be one person chosen, but I want to recognize everybody that tried. I don't have to justify why we need police officers in this state or in this town, but I just wanted to bring up, and this is for the town council as well, in May, just in May of 2024, and this is just the police, this is not fire or EMS, we had 1,319 calls to the police station that 7 guys handled. Okay, they did not all result in arrests or incidents or accidents, but they had to get in their car and go investigate whatever the call was. So for that, I want to thank each and every one of the Foster Police Department for their hard work. At this time, I don't know if I'm going to do this thing. Oh, stop it. I'm going to be like Celine Dion up here. No. At this time, I would like to call Vito Martinelli up to the front, and I will be nice and loud. And I would like to swear Mr. Martinelli in. He is a junior officer, and we're super proud to have him. He's done a great job so far. So if you could just stand and face me, sir, here, raise your right hand. And just listen to the words, okay? Do you, Vito Martinelli, solemnly swear that you will be true and faithful unto the town of Foster and support the town charter, and that you will be true and faithful unto this state and support the laws and constitution thereof and the Constitution of the United States, and that you will well and truly execute the position of patrolman for which you have been elected or appointed, or until another be engaged in your place, or until you be legally discharged therefrom. So help you God.
Thank you. So.
Congratulations. I would like to ask Officer Martinelli whom he chooses to pin his official police badge on his chest.
My mother.
Aw.
Mom, it's gonna go just like this, we just move forwards, right here.
Don't stick him.
Don't-
Yeah, police crack. Don't stick him.
Oh.
Yeah.
Chief,
Make sure you
I
get
think
some
it's-
skin.
I think it's awesome that we've got a greater contingent of Irish folks.
Yes,
Reinforce the PD. Thank you, Chief. Thank you for looking out.
yeah.
I'm already happy for the cooking and the food.
That's right, that's right. We keep them well fed.
Well,
Where's
Mom,
the party? There you go.
Congratulations. At this time, I know it's no surprise to a lot of you that I will be calling up Dennis Smith. And Dennis, is being sworn in as a sergeant this evening. And it was a tight race. Oh, here we go. You ready? Please raise your right hand. Do you, Dennis Smith, be true and faithful unto the town of Foster and support the town charter? And that you will be true and faithful unto this state and support the laws and constitution thereof? And that the Constitution of the United States, and that you will well and truly execute the position of Sergeant of the Foster Police Department, for which you have been elected or appointed, or until another be engaged in your place, or until you be legally discharged therefrom, so help you God.
I do.
Congratulations, this is our new. For any service of rank, we have the pinning of the badge, and we also have the pinning of the chevrons. So there will be two pinnings for this particular thing. Who would you choose to have your badge pinned on your chest?
We knew you were smart. Dan.
Yeah, that's why he's a sergeant.
Chief Gun Policy, if it makes you feel any better, I spent 2 years working on him to get him out here, so. Yeah, we'll go. Flag. Oh.
I know many of you are aware of rank and the symbols that go along with it. But in case anyone doesn't know, this is a chevron, it's 3 stripes, and they'll be pinned on the collar of the sergeant. Whom do you choose to pin the chevrons on your collar?
I have my dad do one and my young son Wyatt do the other. Go ahead.
It's gonna go this way.
Okay. Take out their phone.
And who would you have as second?
Like that.
Now it's your turn to stick him.
Hey, back up.
remember Father's Day.
Years I put him on. It's both gonna look at me. Shakes hand, give me a handshake.
I want to thank from the bottom of my heart, everybody showing up. This is a once in a lifetime event for Foster. We've never seen anything like this, and I can attest to that. So thank you from all of the officers and all of the members of the town council. God bless and drive safe. Thank you.
There'll be a ticket booth outside. If you guys would like to take a picture with even Dennis or Vito, grab a number. We'll be under the flag.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Well deserved.
Welcome to Foster.
Welcome, Vito. How you doing, sir?
Congratulations.
Have fun. Be safe. Be safe.
Good. That's good. And a lot of townspeople, which is nice.
Yeah.
Who's, can you pass me public comment?
I gotta take a quick picture with the officers.
Go right ahead.
and I'll be right
Go right ahead. Can you pass it down to Susan?
Yeah, huh? 4 people there.
Yes.
Yeah, this is about that.
Oh, I'm a little disappointed. We're gonna have a good meeting. I feel better.
Hey, it's Anna Rao.
Can you shut that door?
Hey, Anna Rao, what's up?
Yes, it's right here. in the front.
Got my son's name on it, so.
Oh, you need that. Take them up. Here, here.
Take them
Take,
up.
hey,
Nobody
take
else
more.
needs 'em.
Nobody else is gonna take
Pass
them.
up.
Pass them out out there.
Odds.
There you go. You need to give them out.
The taxpayer, feel like just bought the, one, 66.
Then you deserve those.
There you go.
God bless you. Go in
Welcome to
peace.
town.
Yeah.
You know it'll be safe now.
Yeah. Vito's dad, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Congratulations.
He said Vito's.
He said my son.
Yeah.
Okay. We're back to order and look at, it's nice and small. Okay, public comment, Mr. Savazio.
Yes.
Come on up. I think it's on. I can't tell with the sun. It is, okay.
For viewing pleasure.
Thank you.
And first, I want to give you some background. What am I supposed to?
You need to
Yeah,
get the
turn.
mic close to you.
Turn, no,
Mike,
no,
oh,
it's
just turn
on.
the mic close. to
Yep, see, there you
you.
go.
Perfect.
They couldn't hear me. So, some background. There you go. Some background. Over 3 months, maybe 4 months, I contacted the highway director of the year about a problem I was having. And once through the mechanic, twice through Jane, if you want confirmation. He actually told Jane that he solved the problem. I contacted the liaison to the highway director of the year 3 times, and he was busy. So saying that, I live in Old Plainfield Pike. Old Plainfield Pike is about 3/4 of a mile straight downhill. I brought you a picture of Old Plainfield Pike. When the state did Old Plainfield Pike, about 3/4 of the way down, they built a belly. And as you see, as it turns off to the left, it actually goes uphill again. I'll
They
give them
built a what? I didn't hear what you-
a belly, a well.
Oh, okay, thank
All
you.
right. And that's to capture all the water coming down Old Plainfield Pike, send it into the culvert and stop it from coming down the road. What I contacted the highway director of the year about was that the culvert seemed to be blocked. Second picture, okay? There's about 1 foot of gravel and about 3 feet of brush. And having said that, so the excuse is going to be we've had a lot of water, but we've had hurricanes. and I've never had my property destroyed. Okay? My property and my ponds are not to pick up problems from the town. So here's a picture of my 20-year-old tulip poplar with about a foot of gravel around it, stone, blue stone from Highway Director of the Year doing the road. And then I have a picture of the gully, which is over a foot deep. All right. And you'll also see pictures of in this picture, you'll see that the old road is actually breaking off. The gully's so big. So he's destroying the road total. And here's a picture of my pond, my field with your stuff on it. Okay. So what I'd like the council to do. And I'm going to say this again. I tried not to come here again. I did every avenue I'm supposed to do. All right. And here I am again about the Highway Director of the Year. I'd like the culvert dug out, just if there's a little bit of time. I'd like my tulip poplar. I don't care about the gravel in the pond and the field and around other stuff. I'd like the tulip poplar dug out, put a well around it, because if you put that much dirt over roots, you kill the tree. And then I'll be suing you to replace the tree. All right. And I'd like the gully filled in with riprap. Now, I own about 1,500, 1,800 feet of an old Plainfield Pike, and my property was pristine. It was perfect. So any one of you ride down along my property and see what he's done. The gullies, I actually had to dig a well at the other pond because he was using the pond to put the gravel and sand and stuff in. It's not my job to help you people. And I'm going to say this. He's still here. And no, forget all that. I have a complaint and I'd like you to handle it.
Thank you, Mr. Savazio.
No problem. Here are your pictures. And Denise, I want to show you as just personally, as it turns, you can see that it actually goes uphill.
Yep.
Right? So here's the culvert. My fingers don't work.
I want a Band-Aid on, no.
There's the tulip poplar.
Mhm.
There's the gully
Mhm.
with the road breaking off.
Mhm.
And there's my field, which I don't care about. So thank you.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I'll call you again sometime.
Okay.
We'll see you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Helen's, I'll see you.
Have a good evening.
Absolutely, always do.
Moving on to I will say, Ms. Rogers is excused and so is Grant. I can never remember his last name. McGregor, thank you. I can never remember his last name. They're both excused. Moving on to
Me.
oh, thank you.
This is a letter that was dropped off at Town Hall. I would like to thank the Department of Public Works for a great job.
I did.
Mike is on.
It is on. I made sure.
Is it working? So I'll start over again. This is a letter that was dropped off at Town Hall. To the Foster Town Council, I would like to thank the Department of Public Works for a great job that they've did this year. I would like to also thank Gordon Rogers for his great work as a DPW director, and I believe he was a great choice to do this job. A lot of things have gotten done that wasn't done before. Like I've talked to many friends who live in Foster who think the same thing. Keep up the good work. William and Nancy McGee, 1 Boswell Trail, Foster.
Thank you. Yep, I'm passing it down to you. Thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda.
I make a motion, we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving down to old business, the request to reconsider ordinances, section 16-31, 16-57, 16-58, 16-59, 16-60, 38-2, and 38-272. We have to repost that in July.
That's
Do-
a two-part item. It has to be the request to reconsider and then the reconsideration.
Okay, so we can put it on in July. Charter amendments. You have in your packet what had been previously discussed with the previous Charter Review Committee. And then you also, as we know, we've been having a lot of discussion regarding the land trust. What is the pleasure of the council, if anything? I had asked for the Rhode Island, what you have, your first thing with highlighted yellow.
Yep.
Is what that says we can do this, because I know there's been discussion as to whether or not we can move forward with putting a charter review on the ballot from previous committees and charter amendments. And yes, indeed, we can. If you look at the proposed changes from 2019, the finance director had already been passed. Some of the corrections, verbiage and typos did not need to be on. And then there are others that were. So I don't know what the pleasure of the council is.
You want us to make a motion to move forward with it?
If you want, if there's any particular ones that you want to move forward with, then you can. I have it printed out here if that makes it easier for you. The one checked is the finance director.
We had already presented this, correct?
Yes. But I don't know what the pleasure of the council is.
I make a motion that we accept and continue forward with the Charter Review Committee 2019 proposed changes.
Okay, can you?
I'm gonna ask you to withdraw that motion because not all of them are going forward, because some of them
So
are
you have to
already,
check.
we've already
check.
changed treasurer
Right. No,
to
the-
finance director. That passed
That
at that
passed.
election. You didn't need
These
to
you
do the
don't need-
typos and
You don't
the
need to do this one, you don't need. to do
changing
that
of
one.
the
Let's
language.
just go with the ones we do need. Which ones do we need then over here? So this is all set.
So if we want to discuss the town manager, 4-year term, we haven't discussed 4-year terms for the council. The nonpartisan municipal. So I think some of them we might want to discuss, and then the other one is the provide recall for elected officials.
That's still on or not on?
Well, those are things that we have to discuss whether we want them on.
Both these are possibilities.
Because as we know, if we put too many on, people don't.
Fatigue.
And the 4%, I saw you and I'm like, okay, wait. The 4% is another one, this one here, increase the amount, the 4%. And if we were gonna prioritize, I would put the 4% as number one.
Yeah.
I think that's
We've been
a,
pushing for that for a long time.
yeah, I think that's a biggie. I would personally rather just pick like 2 or 3 to move forward with and work on those, because as we know, when we put too many on, it's, they don't pass.
So, but is number one a higher priority because we just worked on all these changes?
We don't have to, no, these are
They
just,
already settled?
this, see if it says NA, we don't have to do it.
Okay.
And if
Thank
it
you.
says NA,
Well, that one says it.
so this one, right. But it's one that we've been looking at,
Okay.
increased.
Yeah, capital 2 to 4.
So the reason it says it's not necessary is because the 2% is the minimum. They're looking to change it, so the 4% is the minimum. Your finance department is able to put in, as long as they put in 2%, they could put in 4% into capital. But the purpose of, that the Charter Review Committee discussed, I'm sorry, back in 2019 was to make 4% the minimum. So although they can do 4% now, they want to make it so it's 4%. 4% is the minimum. So going forward, every council has to do it and it protects.
So that's,
Denise, can I also say
Yeah.
that as some of you aren't running, or even if you do choose to run, right? I've seen instances where a council will undo what we've done. So say we have 3% being budgeted now. We've all heard during this cycle of budget meetings and FTMs, the find it somewhere else theory, right, in the statement.
mhm.
So that's where they could find it legally. So I think that some people don't see this as a real issue because we've been funding more than 4%. I mean, we've been paying and using capital funds greater than that 4%. So they don't realize how little 2% is. It's only 200 and change. If you were to ever, or a council were to ever deplete your capital reserve, you would only be putting less than $300,000 in a year. That doesn't even cover your paving. So I think that that's the reason for it. And I think that's the selling point of it as well, is that people haven't noticed it because we have been doing it.
Right.
But when you stop doing it or somebody stops doing it, you'll notice it really fast, really fast.
Mhm. So it's something that do we want to protect that? Is it something that we can feasibly do every year?
So the thing is,
You're not on yet.
So the thing is, once it's built into the budget, then it's just a
That's what we
maintenance
done.
of it. So as your budget increases, the increase for capital would only be the percentage, the 4% of whatever your increase was that year. So it's a matter of getting it to the 4%. Right now, we're a little over 3. So I would also ask that you phase it in over a period of time so that by the end of a cycle, you would have to have that 4% built in. So it wouldn't be an instant no, because they'd see it as a mandatory tax increase to fully fund it next year. So you could phase it in so
So
that it had to be,
3%.
so that the 4% you would be at that 4% by fiscal year 2028 or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
I like that. Well, not necessarily 2028. but
Whatever.
Like phasing it
Mhm.
in,
Because
but
if
is it gonna get confusing?
I have the budget pulled up, hold on, for a different, let me just see where we're at right now.
As far as writing the ballot question, that's not the council's problem. That's fine.
I know, but
And well,
not
we
saying-
can
but-
send it out so that we explain it a
Yeah,
particular way.
that's something I think we really have to do. We haven't done that in the past. I think we really have to
Sell it.
work on, the PR, if you will, of that.
What did you say?
As far as wording the ballot question, it's not the council's problem, it's mine, because I'm the one that puts together the Word document that gets sent to the Secretary of State.
But I think we have to put it
Mhm.
in
Layman's
layman's
terms,
terms.
to send out to,
legalese term.
so the 3.37, that's where we're at now. So we're 6.3%, point, right, 6.3%. Short of it. So believe it, so that 2% is 329,000. So 1% is about 160,000. So if we're short about 60% of that, we're probably short a little over 100,000. You wouldn't have, 120,000. You wouldn't want to budget that all in one year because that's a percentage of what you can increase. And you don't want to do it all for a capital outlay or transfer.
So what if we said 3% by 2025?
2025 is next year.
I know.
Okay, but
So-
we're already at 3%.
So, but that's, we are. But so maybe 2026 then, fiscal year 2026 would be the following.
I would do do a quarter of a percent every year, but start at where we are now, which is 3.37.
But our charter says 2%. So there's no guarantee that they'll keep it at 3%
Yeah.
the next time. So I'm saying if we
Okay.
say the next term or the
Okay,
next fiscal
Okay,
year, it's 3%.
and when we
or
advertise it,
2.5%.
let people know that we're already at the
Right,
whatever.
and
yeah.
then we just move it up by 0.5% each.
Okay, whatever.
I don't
Honestly,
know, I'm asking for your
no,
financial advice.
truthfully, if you can get it in, it doesn't matter if it takes 5 years. It's just something that wouldn't be able to be undone. So
They can't be undone by another council.
not if you get it in.
Yes.
Well, let's
Gotta
say
go on the
next
ballot.
year,
It's gotta
say
go on the
say
ballot.
you said 3% next year and we're currently funding at 3.37 and this passes. Next year, if somebody were to try to go back down to the 3%, because that's all you're legally mandated to do, that's a bad look from anybody's perspective, because whoever's here would say, why are you going backwards when next
So
year
are
you're
you
gonna have to
saying-
tax it anyway?
So give me a number then, Kelly.
No, I'm saying you're right, because I don't think that people will undo what you've done to this date if this passes. And the biggest push is to see, the biggest improvement you can make is to have it passed at any rate.
Right,
So,
so I'll try again.
no, whatever you said what? I would go to 3% though. in the first year
3%
of
by
implement-
fiscal year 2026.
Yep,
And then by fiscal year 2028, 4%.
yes.
What do you,
So we're already at 3, but.
yes, but only by law, we only have to do 2.
I know that, but.
You're not on, Cheryl.
Right, so.
We only have to do 2. So the next council
Could reduce it.
could reduce it to 2. For
So-
fiscal year 2026, we're going into fiscal year 2025. So fiscal year 2026, the next council could say, well, it only says 2%. So we're at, so we go, no, yeah,
I am all in favor of changing it and upping it, but if we're already at 3, why can't we go 3.5 and then 4 or something like that?
I think because what she's saying
I know
is
what she
that
was
she
saying, but
does, that people don't know.
Reality is reality. Well,
People don't know it, so when they see it, it might be a harder sell because people don't know that you're at the 3.3%. You'd have to hope that they read the letter or the notice that you put in the paper or that you send to them so that they read what it really means and what it would mean to them from a dollar standpoint.
you have to get it out to them 7 times for the,
Yeah,
to meet.
well, as the person who
least.
pushed the homestead, I recognize that not everybody read what we,
Right.
yeah, and we
So-
sent it to their home.
I know.
So I threw some things out. What is everybody else? Cheryl, what do you? You don't
See-
want to go with the 3, you want to go with 3.5?
Well, see, I just believe in telling it like it is. It's there. It's there. We want to keep it there. So
But how will they know that it's there? Because to them,
The-
if they're reading.
the
that
stuff you're
going-
taking,
That you're reading from, if they read, that's the only thing most people know is what they're gonna read on the ballot. That's what they're gonna see. And it's probably going to be a pretty big voting period because it's a presidential
yes,
election.
it will be, right.
So all they're gonna see is that you're going from 2 to 4. She's right. Denise is 100% right about that. No matter what we advertise, no matter how we send it to people's homes, they don't read it. On that, and even if they did, on that day, they're gonna forget. So on that day, when they go to vote, they're gonna see 2 to 4, they're gonna see that as a tax increase to them. And what she's saying, and I agree, is that it's more important that you pass it and ultimately get to your 4%. Because you need the 4%. You spend more than 4%.
What happens if we're at 4% before the 20?
You can be.
Yeah.
You absolutely can be at 4% more
So
early.
what happens in 2028 and we're
Nothing,
there?
we've already complied a year early.
Right. Right.
You just have to be at 4% by that period
Okay.
of time.
Go ahead, Chris. We're gonna.
Can we write it so we're not saying 2 to 4?
Kelly suggested 3 to 4. We changed it.
I understand what you're saying. You could say you have to be fully compliant by June 30, by July 1st of 2020.
I think the fact that you're saying 2 to 4, they're looking at 2%.
Right. So if we said
So if
2,
we said,
We're at 3 now.
I know.
I know, but we're
But
not
Kelly's
officially there.
Kelly's saying if we show them 3, it'll be less of a sell, an easier sell than 2 to 4, 3 to 4.
Right.
That's a misconception, I think.
You think so?
I do. Yeah. We're there. I
okay, then Cheryl,
understand.
make a
I,
motion.
no, I understand why you
I-
said that and what your thinking is, but
people think,
We have been able to get there that far. So let them know it's in there and that we need to get to 4%.
So what if
How are we
we,
gonna let them know that?
you're off.
How are we gonna let them know that where we are?
So what?
How many
if we
people went to
do-
the financial town meeting?
So what if we
Yeah, you're
do 3% for fiscal year 2026? And we say, right now, we're at 3.37%. So it's really not gonna be a huge jump, we're already there. But by 2028, we wanna be at 4%.
Correct.
So we let them know where we are now. And we wanna keep it at
Now,
3%,
see that, if you say it like that, I think maybe then they'll
but,
right?
but you
accept
can't
that.
write
That's
it
in the
that way on the
explanation.
ballot.
Right, you
That's
can't
the
write it.
explanation you can send. It will not look
So-
anything like that on the ballot.
No, I
So
know.
if you only need it
Anybody-
on the ballot.
That reads it on the ballot, if you write the ballot from 2 to 4, they're thinking they're gonna
Right.
pay an extra
Yeah, I-
2%
That's
tax.
why it's failed every year that we've put it on.
Right.
Exactly right.
It's failed every
Exactly
time.
right.
So if we say 2 to 3,
Well, see,
and then on the ballot, 2 to 3, and then 3 to 4 by 2028. And in our explanation for the PR, the information we
as long as
send
we
out,
tell them,
we tell them we're at 3.37 right now.
okay, if we tell them,
And that we're spending
Like
more than
you said-
4%.
Oh, we spend more like 5 or 6.
So
Yeah.
we need to
Five-
tell them
5%,
that
yeah.
eventually, and I like your little graph that
Mhm.
I don't think everybody looks through that and just sends that graph in.
Okay, I make a motion, we move this one forward.
Okay. Saying
yeah, you gotta come up with the words.
you, so you want to go 3%
So
in 2020.
Section 10.10. Decrease the amount of annual appropriations that must be used for capital from 2% to 4%. We want to make it 3.
3 for fiscal year 2026 and 4 for fiscal year 2028.
Is that?
So we want to
is
make the
that good
appropriation.
Enough for you, close enough for you? I mean, is that gonna help you that far out?
But she can go over the 3%. She just can't go under it.
It's a
It's what we
minimum.
want.
Yes,
It's a minimum.
I do know. that.
We've been
that-
going over the 2% for years.
I can't tell you the last time you spent 2% on your capital. It would have to be at least 10 years ago, and that was when nothing was done because we had fully depleted your capital fund, at least 10 or 11,
But we
12
can
years
at
ago.
least now, whatever council in 2030
Mhm.
has to keep it at a certain percent.
If this gets voted in November, right, the next time you go to do the budget, even if they wanted to find money somewhere else, they won't take it from there because the long-term goal, even though it's only 2 or 3 years out, is to build it back in. So if you were to take it from there and reduce that to 3%, you're gonna have to find that entire percent in the next 2 years, and that's a harder.
Okay. Okay, as long as it's explained.
So do we have
We'll have to
a
explain.
motion?
Second.
Did you get it, Mrs. Dillon? I know we were chatting out.
Yeah. I'm gonna use this.
Right, somebody else has to make the motions. I can't.
Right.
I made it.
Chris made it.
I seconded it.
And
It's
so
3% 2026.
fiscal year 2026, 8
By 2028.
by 2028.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're right.
Any further discussion? You had your hand up. I was like,
I did.
no, you know the routine.
Oh, I did, oh.
You come here to get your exercise, Lynn.
We like to put you front and
It was a-
center on there.
On the ballot, isn't there always a big space for an explanation after?
Yes, but
The-
it's legalese and I'm not sure people.
Well, some, though, it's-
legal
I can remember
description.
it being fairly plain speaking, this change would. And then it's fairly, it does dumb it down.
And that's what we gotta do.
Thanks.
Just saying.
Right, so,
True fits.
okay. So we've had the motion been seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Did I see somebody saying, Catherine, did you raise your hand? No, okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. So then you want, okay, so entertain that.
So I make a motion to move forward the proposed changes for section 6.12, relevant provisions in section 2.04 and section 10.03, create the position of a town manager.
Second,
Okay. Discussion.
I think it's something that's been
Hey.
brought forward to us for 2 years.
We've had so many issues in town hall that I think it would help.
You and I both use too
Right.
much vacation time.
Yeah,
So are you looking for a full-time town manager, part-time town manager? What are you thinking it's gonna cost us?
Well, this proposed change was a 5-year term. Appointed by the town council pursuant to the employment contract. Anticipates in employment decisions and development of the budget and executive decisions made by the town council. Execution of decisions made by the town council. I apologize.
it would make our jobs a lot easier.
That was the recommendation, and I'm assuming that was at 32 hours at the time, or whatever the hourly
I
rate.
think it was part-time.
What was it?
It was
part-time?
Yeah.
part-time. Julia, do you have that document? For it described what the position would look like? I know
It's interesting.
not this, Mrs. Dillon,
No, the one.
the one that describes that remember
Job description.
they gave a whole, they gave a
Wow.
2019.
I just want to say, couple things, if you don't mind.
Can you wait
Yeah.
until the council and then?
I can hunt through, see if I have it on the system. If not, I definitely have a hard copy in the file because I have a.
So
a
can we just
generation
make a
of-
motion? We've made the motion and we second it. Can we
Move it
vote
forward.
on it and then look at the next meeting, discuss what it would look like?
You can say in a, do you
Yeah,
plan on
so-
changing the parameters? That's.
But that will be late to get it on the ballot. won't it?
No,
No,
August.
August
yeah.
Oh,
is the
August,
absolute
okay,
latest,
okay.
but that's something I can, our office is open on Friday, so I can turn it around
But it's
the next day after the July meeting.
But there is something that they came out with the last, because I just looked at it.
If you want to hold this one, I can hunt the paper file.
Do you want to withdraw the motion then?
I withdraw my motion.
Put this on for,
For July, yeah, okay. All right, and then what's,
Denise, can I make my comment?
yes, I'm
Okay.
sorry, go right ahead.
One thing is, I don't think that you can have a 5-year contract. Can you please look at that?
You have to
Everything
do a
else, if you
3-year, I
notice,
think.
if you notice, most of our contracts are 3 years for a reason. There's a law that said, okay, so there's.
Yeah, I
one
think
thing.
it's only 3 and you can roll
Yeah.
over for 1.
And the second thing is, there's a difference between a town manager and a town administrator, and I don't think people realize that. There's 2 different things, and I think you would be looking more towards an administrator, so you might want to look at that too, the difference between them.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so then,
Something you can give to Julia for a definition.
Mhm.
Thank you.
is there,
You have another one I'm interested in personally.
do you want, Cheryl, did you see any others that you were interested in? Stony, did you see any that you were interested?
No.
You
Those
want
two
my hard
are the
copy?
most important ones. Those two are the most important, I think.
I think.
So you're not going to visit the land
Well,
trust?
I'm gonna wait
Okay.
until Ms. Hawes is done and then I'm gonna put that, what is it called? The elephant in the room?
Where is he? Can't see him.
No, I don't think so. You found what?
It's the town manager.
Oh, but thank you. Thank you. I have it, but I don't have my laptop with me.
Did you just load it in Sugar Sync or you send it by mail?
You have no experience.
So, I'm sorry. The elephant in the room, land trust. What are people's thoughts? We've had a lot of discussions about it. It has gone before
charter review committees. I know of 2 charter review committees that's gone before 2019, and then the previous one, which would have been 2014. They've discussed it. People have talked pros and cons, and it's never made it to the council. Is it something you want to discuss tonight? I know Heidi was very intent on it. She's not here tonight. Do we want to wait until July to have that conversation?
I'm opposed to it.
So, okay. So,
You don't want any change to the agreement?
No, I don't. I understand why people think it needs to be done, and they're probably right. I also think that, the reasonings that they gave before us, they've got a big project coming out. It could wipe out the monies they have there. If they didn't have those monies, that would fall on
I
us
get it, but
to take care of.
there's no other entity in town that we just give
So we're
up free
gonna-
money.
We're gonna kill them for $40,000, maybe 50.
so this is my thought. This is my thought. Last time I said I thought put it on the ballot, let the people decide. I'm still not opposed to that. The other thing I've been thinking about since then is we really haven't vetted it out. Like, we don't know how much, what percent we want, but we've got a short period of time to really vet it out.
Mhm.
Do we move it? Well, we can't move it on to the next council, but do we have the next, now 2019, 5 years is 2024. So
Yeah.
the next council could have a charter review committee. And then, I'm sorry.
Here's my thought on it is that the price of the houses and property are all going up. So that fee is gonna get larger.
Well, my thinking, hearing them and listening to them, they are going to spend, they don't even, thanks, Phil. They don't know how much they're going to be spending on this dam. That's one project. They need the insurance. They've got to keep up the other things. And if we start depleting it and they spend most of their money on this
I know,
dam,
but the fire departments are in the same position. All
Well,
the fire departments, the
they're not-
library,
they're not set
it's
up
all
like
in the
this.
same.
So. Not to beat a dead horse again, and then beat it again in July, and then beat it again in August.
Come on, you're no
Let's wait until
fun.
July. Let's wait until July. Heidi will be back. She's very adamant about it. She feels strongly about it. We're gonna be discussing the town manager. Let's do the land trust at that time.
it's fine.
And I just think that's fair,
Okay.
that it was her baby, if you will. Okay. Thank you.
And if the council wants, I can also put together some just explanatory language for the capital for you guys to review at the July. meeting.
I agree with you though, Denise. I mean, if we sat here now and made a decision, we haven't looked into the percentages or
right.
anything of it. We don't know how we're going to be hurting them or helping us.
True. You know the routine. Just leave it on, Mrs. Ryder.
It's not on. There you go.
I just think that with all the possible things coming up for the land trust to be doing at this time per the economic development consultant's recommendations, that this may not be the opportune time, because if they really proceed with creating more recreation in the town, be it bike paths or equestrian paths or something like that, that's going to take a lot of money up front. And it would, taking money away from them may just really limit
Save it
what
for
they
July.
could. We'll save it for July.
Save it for July. Put it on your notepad and save it for July. Thank you.
Sounded impressive, Lynn.
Okay, so then the next one
So much
is,
more eloquent than I would.
so the next one is the bulk waste proposed fee schedule, and I just looked I left mine at home. I was rereading it. Thank you. So we have Heidi and Chris, if you recall, we're going to work on it, and then there's another one that's
on the website already. So, Chris, Heidi's not here, go for it.
Yeah, okay. So we went over all of, and what's happening in town is that people are putting massive amounts of back up. For there was a guy down here. Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Down the street.
We don't
He did a
have
whole
streets.
bathroom construction project. And it was all out for the trash. We can't afford it. So Heidi and I went over some of the fees. I can read what Heidi actually wrote this. And then we're gonna have a sticker like that. Can everybody see that? I don't know if they can see it way back there.
It's two
But-
different ones.
One is okay for pickup and the other one is no, don't pick it up. So the furniture requires a sticker curbside for curbside pickup. Couches, recliners, wooden beds, cribs, vanities, outdoor furniture. $10, $15, $25, depending on estimated weight and volume. Metal bed frames can be dropped off at DPW for scrap metal. I guess they got a scrap metal container over there. Box springs and mattresses can drop off at DPW. Motor oils can be dropped off at DPW. I didn't even realize they had
Yeah.
a waste oil burner.
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't even know that.
They do.
So I got a ton of oil in my garage I can take over there. Propane tanks. Oh, wait a minute, I skipped.
Paint can.
Motor oil, paint cans. Contact Eco Depot or bring it to DPW on Earth Day. Propane tanks, you can drop off at the DPW. $5 for 25-pound tanks, $10 for 50-pound tanks. Tanks must be empty. Obtain a sticker prior to drop off. Scrap metal you can drop off at DPW. Small appliances, non-freon, typically electrical items with cords. If primary made out of metal, you can drop it off at the DPW for free of charge. I guess they put it in with the scrap metal. And that's it. And right, I got what the other,
What's on the website?
yeah, I printed that out too also, but you guys can look at what's on the website.
One of my other things, because I drove around yesterday and today, because yesterday was trash pickup on my section,
Right.
and then Thursday is other parts. We also have to talk to Rambone about not picking the stuff up.
That was my
Well-
thought
That's
too.
my big
Well,
one.
Why?
that's part of the purpose of this is so that if Gordon's driving around, he can put a red sticker on it
But
and they won't pick it up. I think he's already talked to John.
I get that, but they should also know.
But John's,
not
the
to-
problem is John's not out on the road
Right.
with his work.
So he needs to tell his workers, don't, because I watched them today, throw in, somebody had this bed. It was a
Yep.
child's bed, and they threw the whole
And then-
metal thing in.
right,
I'm
if-
like, we shouldn't be
Yeah.
doing that,
Right, and I have to be
Right.
honest with you.
They don't take that stuff.
but they do. But that's fine
They're
then.
making good money spread.
Ordinance
And
that
they're
says
doing
that,
it.
so that he should not be doing that.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
But the resident
No,
shouldn't be
that's what I'm
putting it
saying.
out either.
Right, the residents shouldn't be putting out, but when they do, Rambone should just leave it there. That's my big thing.
I went by one today and I said to my daughter, I said, look at that stuff. Now, I said, no, let's see. what was picked up. She said, well, Mom, take it. I said, that stuff. And we came back by the next day when they did trash. All but a pallet was gone. It did not have been picked
Right.
up.
And that, I think it's two things that we have to look at.
Right.
We have to look at what people are putting out and let them know, wait a minute, you need to
Yeah,
do this.
okay.
And then the other one is Rambone, don't pick them up.
Right,
Don't pick them up or
right.
give
We
some,
gotta make that a lot clearer.
right, give
gotta
some of these to
hand up and-
Rambone and have him put it on the stairs.
There's a lot of money that could be saved in
Right.
that.
I heard you, Mrs. Dillinger. Sorry. You're not on.
So my question is it gonna be Rambone's? Are they the ones that are gonna put the stickers on?
Well, that's what I was just saying.
Well,
Right, I mean, they have to, because you can't have the DPW director driving around, that would be his job. Driving around putting stickers on things.
Right.
I know,
I
but
mean,
he,
No, it has to be Rambone, or.
I know, and he's not,
If he's not gonna
told that
follow our
not
procedure,
to pick it
then
up.
maybe we have to go elsewhere. Just saying.
hand up in the back, Denise.
Hi, you need to come up front, state your name, address, and then give your spiel.
I can't.
Thank you.
I, Matthew Del Sesto, I live on Shippey Schoolhouse Road. I've been in town a couple of years. So I came from Warwick, to come up here, and what they did there is you can just put all this stuff out. But what they did do is every residence had, I don't remember the exact number, maybe like 2 days per year that you could
Mhm.
do that. Of course, there were limitations on that stuff. At one point, they were talking about literally giving everybody an actual sticker, and that's like a ticket. That's your day, you can do that.
Mhm.
And we do that. I mean, I get it.
Providence does that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I was literally guilty of this. What we put out last week, I was like,
Uh-huh.
they're not gonna take this.
But they did, didn't they?
They
But
did.
that's my thing is, I agree. I think Rambone should get these. And I think that it says, Town of Foster bulk waste disposal notice. This is not a permitted item to be picked up. Please contact the town hall at 401-392-9201 for
Somebody would-
disposal instructions.
Somebody would have to talk to Rambone
Right,
because
but-
he'd have to train. his
So-
work.
Yes, but we could also have DPW workers while they're out doing their job, if they see something, put it on.
So-
Not specifically, but I mean, I was
Right,
just driving around
right.
town.
And
So here's my question though. Just to play devil's advocate, in all fairness, if the trucker is driving down the road, knowing they're not supposed to pick stuff up, because we've been talking about this for years, picks it up anyway, what makes me think he's gonna reach and find a sticker and put it on items out front? Cause he would, if he was gonna do the right thing, he'd be doing the right thing already. In my opinion.
right,
So
the
I think
problem,
we
the
need to-
problem
I don't
is,
Have a discussion.
I'm not
that-
sure, right, I'm not sure the workers know that I should
I
take
agree with
this.
you.
right,
I mean, if
and
you
that,
don't
They
know
make- they
where-
want 'em
right.
extra money.
and that's my point.
Right,
You
Exactly.
know, we're telling John that
he needs to
And-
tell,
he needs,
Okay.
go ahead, Phil.
Hi, Bill Keefe from Bob's Hill Road. If we have a contract with Rambone, and I'm assuming we do,
Yes.
they know the provisions of the contract.
Mhm.
All we have to do is ask them to follow the contract. And believe me, after they leave stuff in someone's yard, because it's not stuff that they should have been picking up in the first place, people learn quickly. People learn quickly. And just, I would suggest that you put something out in social media or however else you get in touch with folks in the town and say, look, this is a problem, so be more vigilant about what you put out. I don't think it's that big a deal. Just let Rambone do their
the
job.
fee,
Let Rambone do their job.
the fees
Leave it on
are-
the side of the road.
But
The
they haven't
fees are
done
a
that.
big deal.
They're picking
Well,
it up.
they are a big deal, and that's why we're paying the fees we are, because they pick up everything that's put there,
Right.
exactly.
including
Exactly.
refrigerators.
It
Exactly.
benefits them, right?
So however we do it, Bill,
Rambone needs to,
just- we need-
this is a Rambone issue.
but we need to do that.
We need to, when does the contract?
This is it. I think we're in the last year of our contract, if I'm not wrong.
This is the
How-
third.
how-
Oh, he wants it. Matt, I just asked if you could speak on it. What do you think about
You
it?
want some stickers?
Harold Chippy, 49 Mount High J Road. Yes and no. There's, in the last few years, when you don't pick it up, we end up picking it up. The dumping in town has increased a lot. King Road alone,
we got a lot of isolated roads out in the reservoir and everything else, and they're dumping it. We got a boat with a motor dumped in the middle of Pontiac Road. We had a camper dropped on Payne Road that we had to dispose of and had human waste in it and everything else. It was disgusting. It's so easy up here to somebody to dump something. I mean, if they can dump a trailer right in the middle of a road and leave it, propane tanks, we refuse them. We find them later. Tires, especially tires, that's a big problem with tires. I know you got to do something. I mean, if I see something, I'll call the director. And I know exactly what you're talking about, Mrs. Hall, about Gold Mine Road. There was stacks of pallets there.
There was
that,
other stuff
there's
mixed
so
in with
much
it,
wood
too.
that could be recycled.
Mhm. My daughter said, if I had a truck, mom, I'd pick it up and take it home. But
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
No suggestions? Hal?
so
It's tough to enforce, that's the problem,
We had a plan, if I'm not mistaken, didn't we have a plan to assign fees? So someone could come into town hall, pay the fee,
but will they do
and
that?
then get permission to leave something out. But evidently, people,
I think we need three things. I think we need to talk to Rambone and tell Rambone he needs to talk to his workers. We need to send out an email blast saying this stuff is not. You can't put it out on the road. And then do if it doesn't continue, then maybe we just threaten and say, hey, listen, if you're gonna continue to put this stuff out, it's gonna be cheaper for you to get a dumpster than it's gonna be to get a sticker to put your stuff on.
well, so let's play devil's advocate. Let's say we do that and implement the rule. And then as Harold said, what do we do when we find stuff thrown off to the side of the road?
One thing, it was very dangerous. We tried, there's only one guy usually in the garage, and sometimes he's not there. He's fixing something on the road or whatever. So there's nobody there to monitor what comes in. And I made a sign up, no tanks, no this on the metal recycling. Well, they threw in, I could not believe they did it. They cut the valve off on an acetylene, acetylene, very explosive gas for welding, torching. They cut the end of it off. It was a bomb. And they threw it in the thing. I found it and took it out of there. Because when they went to scrap that, they blow themselves up when the shear would grab that. And it was nothing to shut it off, you don't know what you get. No, they cut it off. There was still, part of it was cut off. You couldn't turn it or nothing like that. And it was full. It was a bomb.
All right, so
Thank you. Harold.
like I said, it's just, I'm thinking we have three things we have to do. I really think we have to talk to Rambone.
I do too.
And his contract's gonna be up. So let's see what you do.
Yeah.
And I mean, let's just look at that.
Mhm.
And then, put information out. So maybe residents moving into town don't realize they moved from Warwick, they moved from East Providence.
Yeah.
They get it.
Customary in the old town.
This is where.
Maybe this
what
is
we
in
could
their
do.
packet.
So, and then
That's a good idea.
It is in their
is
packet.
it, yeah, okay, so I think also sending out an email blast, maybe putting something in the Foster Home Journal. Just get the information out there, and then if it doesn't improve, if we give it. can't
You
take
know
6
what
months.
might be a good idea is something on the old Foster Old Home Days.
Right,
Somewhere where we could just put up our own little, just to
only
stand
the
where.
conservation would do.
Right, maybe through them.
But-
I'm sorry, I'm just curious. So again, being new to town, I've been on the website a few times. But my wife would ask me, well, I don't know what to do with this stuff. I don't know where to take this stuff. Do we have a comprehensive list? Oh, if you have tires,
Yes.
We
yes.
talked about
on
it,
the
we talked
website.
about it, it's on the website.
okay, so
But no, it wasn't always.
yeah, that's,
It wasn't always.
yeah. 'Cause we've taken a lot of stuff from our property out of town to do stuff.
Do you go and dump it in another town?
Oh, Situate, it's fine.
So if we talk to Rambone, if we put it on, really put it front and center on the website, and we send out an email blast, then. Oh, okay, you're showing, thank you.
We will
Yeah,
not
but see,
accept
Rambone disposal will not pick up, but they will.
Yeah, we have a lot.
More money.
By
by the pound.
Yes,
Yes.
we saw that.
Right on.
Yep, we saw that.
I have it if anybody wants to look at it.
But whomever said it's right. They go drive down the road and they find a spot where they think nobody's
Right.
looking and they
Exactly
dump
right.
it.
Right,
That's exactly
Right.
right.
so
So-
what do you, what's the pleasure of the council? Oh, I'm sorry, chief.
That's okay. As a resident, why, what is the issue of having Rambone? If Rambone is willing to pick things up, and they do,
It gets charged to us
They bill us over and above the contract and there's no way to prove what they
and that,
actually.
is that by
done.
weight?
by weight.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it's,
There's no verification.
it's a
So-
lot of
So they're
money.
making money.
Yes.
So when you say Rambone, see, there are different, and the reason I know this is because of my previous job. There are different drivers, different
Mhm.
guys in the back. It's not the same crew all the time.
Absolutely.
So for you to say that you would tell Rambone to not pick it up. I think they have to be part, like the big wigs need to be part of a meeting.
Chief Chris had mentioned that he thought part of the interaction with Rambone had to be a training program for all their people who were gonna service Foster.
And we have to have Rambone come here. I agree. The older Mr. Rambone came one night many years ago, wanted to know where I lived because I was questioned.
Oh.
Yeah, so
When the new recycle thing came out, and I don't even know if I lived in Foster at the time, but they had like a magnet and it was like a piece of paper. It wasn't as big as a piece, maybe a 4x6 magnet. And I kept it on my refrigerator for years. And you can't put styrofoam, you can't put hangers.
it's a change, so they accept more things now, but yes, I agree.
But something like that where people could just look, like, cause I would look, can I put this in there? Pizza boxes. Rather than go to the website, if they have the garbage, they're not gonna stop, go to the website. But something might be tangible, that they can have.
Mhm.
That they can have readily available.
And that's recycling, but this is bulk waste.
But we could do it with bulk
Right.
waste. This is not
Yeah,
accepted on the,
same
on the side of the road.
The same do not list.
Right.
So I think sending it out,
And then you said the Foster Home Journal.
Foster Home Journal,
Maybe
just
something in the
getting this
mail.
information out there and letting people know,
Thank you.
Kelly, how much we're paying over.
What
You
it
know,
actually
you wanna
costs
get
us.
money someplace,
There's a
here's
place.
a place to get it.
Exactly.
Here's a place to get it.
Was it 90,000 over? Oh, that's a
Yeah.
lot of money.
That's a lot of
Yes.
money.
Well, we're talking 30 or
Nope, you
40.
were wrong.
You are.
This isn't a novel thing to foster.
No, it's
No.
not.
So have you reached out to other communities that have been very successful?
Yes.
And what do they do?
East Providence, I reached out to them, because I was told they were a model program. They have similar to, I guess, what Warwick has. Certain days of the, month. Put things out and they come and get those. That's a different, and you have to pay a certain amount.
There was also a limit to how many items you could put.
Right,
It
right,
was 8 for the year.
yeah,
East Providence is not like us, though.
I would
because
say-
They have the trash.
They have it,
thing
right,
that take-
yeah.
You can't put it in your trash, well, you gotta find another police for it, because they don't.
Right.
take it, boss. Warwick,
Right.
you can call. You just
Warwick, you call and say, right, you can call in. So,
I would imagine that there are other communities, that have back roads like we do. For Smithfield, their back roads are getting less and less and less. But, they must have had pushback initially before they were successful. How did they overcome that? That's the only thing, if you could call and ask.
Well, I think part of it, Lynn, I don't think it ever gets enforced.
but
We-
I meant, how
You
did
know,
they
here,
do it?
no, but here, so.
Well, if enforcement's a thing, then they'll tell you that enforcement's the next person's account.
Harold Shippey, 49 Mount Energy. Warwick probably has a better handle on it because their Department of Public Works have their own vehicles. So their employees are picking up the trash. Coventry has their own garbage trucks. I'm not sure about East Providence.
That's true, Warwick does their own. Right.
Thank
Laura
you,
says
Harold.
there, and that's true.
Good point.
Yeah.
We're not buying garbage trucks, are we?
Not yet.
Maybe with the money we save. from
Hey,
recycling, we can.
Maybe it's cheaper.
Maybe it's,
It could be, right? It could be
Yeah.
with that contract, right?
yeah. So,
500,000 a year, yes.
But we'd have to hire more men
yes.
or women.
So what's the pleasure of the council this time?
I wouldn't know.
Do you want to have a meeting with Mr. Rambone?
Yes,
I think we should.
yes.
Have a meeting with Mr. Rambone, send out information on the website, an
Maybe-
email blast, something in the Foster Home Journal.
Maybe two of us and DPW director.
And talk to the conservation
Yep.
Yeah,
I wrote that
about
down,
old
conservation.
home days.
And when someone was talking about recycling, Monago does recycling, does the recycling now, I think. They did a training, I remember years ago, they came to Payne School and did a training of what is recyclable and what isn't. So maybe having them come out and do another
And
thing,
and like you said, that's changed now too.
that's changed now
Yeah.
too.
So
What's acceptable.
everybody might need a refresher class.
Right, right. And I think if you get the kids involved, that's a big thing, because they monitor what their parents.
You know,
do.
when those kids come home from the grammar school ages, they're all hyped up about it. That's when you need to get them involved.
Right.
I know, but if you
So-
get them involved and have a
I'm
job,
gonna move on.
So we're gonna,
You wanna make a motion?
yeah.
I'll take a
let's-
motion. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion that myself, the DPW director, and whoever else wants to volunteer.
it'll only be two.
So
I can do it.
Well, is Heidi gonna be part of that?
Oh,
If she is, then.
right. You think Heidi would want to be involved?
Yeah,
that's fine.
should she, because it's important, that's a good point.
Okay, we're volunteering her. She missed.
Yes, she's not here. I
volunteer.
volunteered her.
You're gonna meet with
She's
Mr. Rambo.
voluntold.
Yes.
Okay. And then we'll send out something on the email blast and something.
I just
So-
don't want it to slip by again.
Right. So the motion has been made.
Second,
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. So look in your emails. Next is the approval of the Homestead Act percentage. Kelly, you want to explain this?
So we received 1,000, close to 1,050 applications between the farm forest and the regular property. We spent the week putting it in the system and fixing the ones that we couldn't find, because of course there were, we had to find them. So everything's in, we estimated it. And the assessor, the collector and I met today, and we are recommending 25%.
Can you
So-
explain to people what that means?
So that means if your assessed value is 100,000, your value will still stay at 100,000, but your taxable value will be 75,000. What that does, the difference between that and a 20% was like 85 cents, 80 cents on the tax rate itself. We looked at, I want to say we ran a sample of about 400 properties to see what that would do. Particularly with our commercial properties, because they're not eligible. And then we ran a sample of people who were residential, who didn't apply. I mean, there's not much we can do about it. We can't pick and choose like who's going to be impacted. But to be honest with you, the commercial properties are not, they're absorbing it well, because most of them are gonna have a decrease based on this reval. They were going to experience a decrease in taxation, not an increase. So now they have a smaller like a small increase, or some still have a decrease. Providence Water, which is our biggest taxpayer, went from saving over $120,000 to only saving about 35,000.
Wow.
progress.
So that redistribution was now based on, because by bringing the rate up, as we said, taxpayers, that my biggest concern, which when we first started looking at the taxpayers' new reval numbers and our projected increases, we had honestly, the majority of taxpayers were gonna pay $2,000 increases on their tax bill, which is substantial. You are still going to see taxpayers who have a $2,000 increase, but I can't individualize taxation. And the fact of the matter is, I have nothing to do, or neither does our assessor, with the revaluation as it is. I mean, that is an independent company who, you have the right to appeal, but again, you have to prove that it was unreasonable. So honestly, it met our goal. I looked at our largest 10 taxpayers who were commercial or residential who could qualify. And it works the way we wanted it to, and the way that, I don't want to single out businesses, but like the Country Club, for example, would have had a pretty large decrease. Providence Water would have had a decrease. So many of our companies would have had a decrease. We have two, solar properties that their whole purpose, like it's just the land and it's for solar, would have had a pretty significant increase, not tangible, real property, right? And they're going to go up. Outrageous, nothing outrageous, reasonable. But again, I'd like to point out, for anybody who complains, like, your rate would have been over 1760, close to $18 without the homestead, 17, high 17s. And it's gonna be probably, and do not quote me on this because it's not, it's probably gonna be a $3 change in your rate. So most businesses and 50% of the properties or 60% of the towns and communities who tax have two rates. And generally, the commercial property pays a higher rate anyway, and it's generally more than $3. So it's reasonable. All of your taxpayers who filed for it are going to see some sort of an improvement in their taxes. So instead of owing $1,200, $1,300, some are going to be in the hundreds, where I thought would be more appropriate considering our tax rate and our tax levy is only increasing about 3.5 to 3.6%. That's it.
Okay,
So it shouldn't have
we're
been that
making a
much.
motion.
To approve the percentage, the ordinance.
25%.
The ordinance allowed you 20 to 40. We're doing 25% because of the sheer number and volume of the applications. So when you do that, you don't want to go so high that you're
So
outpricing
25%.
people. That's what we came
But
up
the
with today.
motion's just gonna be to approve the Homestead Act
Correct.
percentages.
At
Yeah.
25%.
At 25%.
I make a motion to approve the Homestead Act percentage to 25%.
Second. I have a question for Kelly. We can discuss again, right?
Go right ahead.
You mentioned the
Providence
Providence Water
Water.
Board.
We're done.
Can they come back at us?
For what?
Well, making their,
For saving $35,000 instead
I
of
don't know.
$120,000?
They came at us before, but I thought it was gonna change if, see, I misunderstood that.
Their rate, their treaty indicates that they cannot be taxed for anything greater in valuation. So their valuation is locked in at, say, close to $20 million, like
And we
$18
didn't
million.
single them out. There
No,
are other
They're
people
not
that
being
did-
singled out. It's
So what grounds
because.
do they have?
Yeah, honestly, they also have part of the treaty that we cannot split our rate because so many communities have a split rate for commercial property and residential property, and that is not residential property. So we couldn't split our rate. So by having a revaluation and having the property value skyrocket like they have in the last 12 to 18 months, right? So that impacted all the homeowners.
Right.
Your tax rate drops and they actually save money because their value is frozen. So
so
it's not, we're not in the business of
I-
saving them money.
No, I
so
thought they were gonna be boosted up, but then,
they're boosted up in a legal way, like we're setting a tax rate for your taxpayers as a whole. And by bringing everybody else's values closer to what they were, taxable values,
Here's
closer to what they were last year, you're in essence bringing up the tax rate. And that makes it fair for everybody, because it's not just Providence Water. It's not everybody went up. So they said the average rates that homeowners value increased was 37%. So anybody who home even could be even their home, who only increased in value 20%, they were gonna have a decrease in taxes this year. And commercial property and like property that's mixed use type of thing, didn't have that kind of an increase. They only increased about 10%. So what in turn that did, because of this crazy housing market, the crazy housing market that hurt our residents substantially and benefited all of the people whose properties did not increase in value like that. And they're mostly commercial property because they're assessed a different way. So we basically just brought them in a better alignment in comparison to where they were last year, the year before, and the year before that. In a very legal way. So
Are we almost done with them anyway, with the payment?
the Providence Water payment, the last payment is this year, and it's actually on the agenda. We have to start negotiating a new treaty. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Oh,
Thank you.
I was like, I don't know, put it on there. Thank you. Come on up. Yep, the motion has been made and seconded. Name and address, please.
Helene Dolce, South Killingley Road. I just would like to make a few comments. First of all, I have a question. What's the mill rate gonna be?
The mill rate currently for the year that's already out is 22.67. So regardless, that tax rate is going to decrease.
To what?
I don't know. We haven't set the
So
roll
it's-
yet, and we have about 50, we have over 100 credits that are still outstanding that still have a balance left. So they're gonna we have to apply those credits, and we have about credit applications. I wouldn't say like about 20, in the high 20, or $20 and say 80 cents.
99 cents?
80
All right.
cents,
Yeah,
85.
okay. But well, that means my taxes will go up. My taxes
I
will go
actually
up.
looked at you. We can discuss that later. I
Okay.
don't think
All
it's,
right. All right, good. I'd like to
But we
discuss
could
that.
discuss it. Your taxes really aren't that seriously impacted now.
Okay,
I did look at you specifically. because
So-
You spoke with me.
yeah.
Is it on the
No,
wheel there? Okay. Okay,
we'll
thank you.
we'll talk later. I would just like to say for the future,
Mhm.
okay? I've been a resident of Foster all my life. I have the only 5-unit apartment building in Foster, probably. I'm not sure if there's another 5-unit. I know that there are other buildings. I live there. It's owner occupied for years. And I provide affordable housing.
Yep.
Which I'm very,
discussed this
which I'm very proud of.
You've
Okay.
discussed this.
I did. I'm just saying that in the future, I would like to see some benefits to things provided to people like myself who do have housing units in the town of Foster, who obviously are providing affordable housing. I just,
And I just an aside. Are you part of our percentage? Do you register with the state so that, because we're trying to get to that 10%? And I'm trying, the
Yeah.
only thing I know of is Hemlock.
okay, that's
So
what
I
I'm
don't know.
saying. I'm an unusual property.
So
I'm an
I don't know
unusual
whether you
person.
have registered with the state
For what?
as a,
Affordable?
affordable housing.
Well, I get Section 8 housing in
Okay.
there, so
So,
I'm
okay, so
assuming,
then
you
you're
know.
part-
But
thank you.
but
Just
my
aside.
point is just to be aware that there are people like me out there that might like a little bit of a tax break in the future when you're writing your bills.
Thank you. The motion has been made, seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next, Kelly. We had at the financial town meeting, if you recall, there was a motion made to remove, I forgot, what's it, 33,000 from the DPW.
31,500. Oh,
Oh.
33 came out of TPW. but
Right.
The motion you need to make, the motion we're discussing tonight.
Right, okay,
Specific to the 31.5 that was added to the other public safety.
okay. So if you recall, it was 33,000 that they
removed from the finance, from
From the
the
DPW.
Right.
and then redistributed, not all of it, redistributed, or requested that it be,
31.5.
yeah, 31.5 to the, various companies. So Kelly says we have to approve that.
So,
You're not
Why?
on. You're not on.
Why?
well, because that's not how it works. It's a bottom line budget. So I'm not going to give anybody that money simply because that's how they said, okay, I would like my South Foster to be restored. I would like $20,000. They made a motion to add, I think the first one was maybe 21,500 to restore. Their intent was to restore their requests. And then
That
another
was
person,
Training, was that
Wasn't
training?
voted on?
it was, but it impacts the bottom line.
But it's.
You
not
don't-
voted on.
understand
The-
That's not
the
a line by
taxpayers
line.
approved-
I don't wanna
No, I understand. what you're saying.
argue it. I'm just saying, I'm not giving it to them because you
Because we
have,
have to say.
because you have a say. It's a bottom line budget. So
I'm-
where this money goes and how it's even, how
The
it's distributed.
taxpayers already approved it.
We've already, okay, so in the past.
It's a bottom line thing. then.
In the past, they've added, it's a bottom line, like the town moderator will even say. This is a bottom line budget, you can ask for
Bottom line by department.
by department, you can ask for an increase, but you can't tell the council where it's going to go. You can say where you would like it to go, so now so it's not something that they spend, I actually give appropriations to them, so I have to transfer that money in quarterly payments, so I would like you.
I agree with you, Chris.
I would like you to vote on that and increasing and transferring that money to the specific agencies, and I actually did it for you right here to make this easier.
All right, so
So,
Awesome. Let's do it.
let me say this, let me ask this question, I'm gonna put it out to the, to the table as an ask, and Julia as well. If the town's already voted on it, but we've take a vote again to direct those funds. If it doesn't pass, we can actually change what the town voted on.
not in total, the money will stay there and can't be used for anything else.
It has to
But
go
it
to
will,
the
it'll
other-
stay in the department, but it doesn't have to go to say South Foster. It doesn't, like, we've had it in the past where, I'm gonna use planning because that's where the money went. You might remember this, Chris. You remember it. I think you were active at the time. I want to say $20,000 was added to the planning budget and it was specific. There was a request that it was to, allow the planner at the time.
Yeah.
To work full-time.
But I don't.
They
recall
did
voting
not,
on that.
they didn't, the financial town,
Right,
it
but
was
I don't
before, you.
remember
It was,
us.
So
it was
No, I
not you.
was here.
to make,
It was
this-
Anne Marie Ignacio.
to
Yeah.
make this easier,
They didn't allow her
to
to
make
work
this
full-time.
easier for me, is this just ceremonial in
Yes.
nature? Okay, fine.
There you go. So
It's
basically,
doing what the people wanted, but we
Well,
have
that's-
to.
yeah.
but you have to approve it
And
because
shame on us if we don't.
Exactly,
Right,
that's why-
exactly.
Just because we're gonna come arrest you if
Yeah.
we don't approve it, right?
I don't know.
So
So
make-
here's the thing, the first motion, I think, I can't really recall exactly, but the intent was to restore what they had asked. Because South Foster wanted a certain amount, which here is 123,365. You gave them, the council adopted and we went forward with 114. That was a $9,300 change, so I'm recommending that you reallocate, that you allow that. The same thing for the training
So you
was
want a
20.
motion of
Just,
to record that we restore or give South Boston $9,565. We give the training $10,000.
You
How-
may be able to do it a little easier if you just redistribute the 31.5 to the other emergency services to be broken out
How-
as
As
this is recommended and
How
just read
about-
it off.
How about if we approve that recommended list?
Yes, that's what Julia just said.
As presented.
I make a motion, we,
I just want to verify one. thing.
Whenever we do things with expenditures of money, we are specific about the dollar amounts. That's
Yeah.
just why I'm.
1,500.
Yes.
so that we increase the other emergency services by $31,500.
As specified in this.
And distribute that money.
as specified on that list.
So the only question and I don't really recall, and I didn't have time for our sound file. But, when he made that first motion, the intent was to restore what they had lost, that we had cut them, right? But he was in broad terms and broad numbers. So I think that there was like a $600 difference. And, I applied that 600 instead to, if you can see the incentive.
Yeah.
Because, it could have gone to South Foster as well, and you'd be giving them more than they originally asked for. But my intention was that the incentive is a new program. They wanted the 25,000. We're not sure if that's gonna be enough. We had budgeted 23.5 because they provided us an example that was 23.5. So I put it there thinking that that would benefit all 4 departments. The 3 departments. So, there was that $600 discrepancy. So if you look,
I
South
see it.
Foster would be fully restored. The training would be fully restored. The incentive is actually $600 more than they are like a little bit amount more than they had asked for. Cause I think they asked for 25,000
Valley and Foster Center.
was the two 5,000s. That's
They were greater than what they.
right.
Right.
But that's what she had asked
So
for.
we had, right, so we
Right.
made the motion. It's been made by Mr. Stone,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Paolino. Further discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank
Thank
you.
you, Denise. That was, that's way to do it.
Yeah.
We ain't changing it.
Okay. Moving on to
Good
Rhode
job, Bill.
Island Department of Housing, notice of funding opportunities. So, Grant is not here tonight, but he gave, is this the municipal, yes. So there's an opportunity, you have it in for a fellow. Grant gave me some notes. Did he give you the notes?
No, we did not.
Do you want to read the notes?
Yes.
He thinks that we do have to combine with another
What?
another community because we're not gonna meet, but you can. Combine with another, and I guess he spoke to Situate.
Have you spoken to Situate?
I believe he has.
Okay. Do you want me to read this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
if you want to for notes, I mean, unless.
Do we need to
people are-
read this?
Have you
Susan, do you need it,
reviewed
right?
the fellow?
If you read it, I put it into.
would you like me to read it? So, is it necessary?
Yes, I don't think
Okay.
it's necessary. I mean, this is self-explanatory.
Right.
It is.
I mean, I think if we can get anything for free from the state, let's go for it.
Yeah.
You had a chance to review it, Julia?
Oh, I know, I can see it.
Okay.
So is this one that we have to pay back, if we don't make a deadline?
Oh, that I don't know.
No,
I don't think we pay it back.
so what Grant says is. That you can get a fellow to come in and help do the work that the planner's doing. Since we're a department of one person, it would help us out. It's a grant. It says multiple grants will be awarded in the amount not to exceed 84,000 per municipal fellow. The term of the grants shall not exceed 2 years or extend beyond June 30th, 2026, whichever occurs sooner. The grant is intended to cover an annual full-time salary for approximately 65,000 and the municipality's share of FICA and employer health insurance. I'm looking at you, Kelly. Municipalities may apply for one municipal fellow.
Do we need a motion to allow Grant to move forward with this?
But they are obligated to specific activities that they're
Right.
involved in.
It's housing, which would possibly help you guys out since there's no way the town's be able to meet the affordable housing cookie cutter affordable housing requirements.
So. What is the pleasure of the council?
I make a motion that we allow Grant to pursue further the opportunity of the fellowship grant.
Second.
Further discussion? Cheryl?
No, I think it's a good idea.
I agree. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on. I would accept it this time because it still includes grants. If you would move number 9, letter of support for the Rhode Island Commerce to serve as lead entity for a statewide economic development district for Rhode Island.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So you have the letter in your packet. Somewhere where I read it, not me.
Veteran support, commerce. Oh, you got it? I was gonna bring it up. June
Thank you.
13th, 2024, Alejandro Castillo, Assistant Secretary of Commerce, U.S. Economic Development Administration, 1401 Constitution Avenue, Northwest Suite 71014, Washington, D.C. Letter of support to Rhode Island Commerce to serve as lead entity for a statewide economic development district, EDD, for Rhode Island. Dear Assistant Secretary Castillo. Given Rhode Island's size and density, establishing the entire state as an economic development district holds immense potential for economic growth and development. A statewide EDD would ensure that all areas of the state have equal access to the benefits of an EDD, fostering a sense of unity and shared progress. The town of Foster recognizes and embraces the benefits of an EDD designation for the state of Rhode Island in the way that a statewide EDD will help strengthen municipal and state collaboration in the development and implementation of Rhode Island Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. We recognize that participation in a statewide EDD can strengthen our competitiveness for federal EDA funds, a significant advantage for our economic growth. The town of Foster recognizes that our participation in the EDD would involve collaborative work with the state and the mutual benefits and supports of the Rhode Island Commerce Corporation's application to lead a statewide EDD in order to benefit, facilitate, and coordinate localized and statewide economic development efforts. If you have any questions, Denise DeFranco is the point of contact for our municipality on this effort and can be reached at sincerely, Denise DeFranco.
Grant does make a couple of notes here that having the ED supports more comprehensive work
Not yet.
to achieve local development, develop goals, and that it's also in line with the Camoin report. This effort and Foster's support of the effort should not be construed to mean the state is going to rezone Foster for commercial land use or impose commercial growth on Foster. There will simply be assistance for initiatives that are going to be put forward locally. So what is the pleasure of the council?
I make a motion to allow President DeFranco to sign the document as written.
Second.
Discussion?
This does not mean that we have to agree to anything
Right.
particular,
It
right?
just helps us move forward.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
She was waiting for the motion.
Yes. So now, next we have the Rhode Island Department of Housing Notice of Funding Opportunity. Oh, we just did that, didn't we?
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you. I didn't
4-H
watch all.
request.
4-H request. So you have in your packet, 4-H has, or I should say Stanley Tree has very graciously donated their materials, their trucks, their
People.
well, no, not their.
Well, not
people.
that people, that's, we gotta pay for that.
We gotta pay for their people. There's several large trees around, the farms at Old Home Days with the 4-H. And they have several trees that they said that they would cut down, but they are looking for $1,100.
I make a motion, we pay the $1,100. It's town property.
Second.
Discussion that I think we need to
Just-
clarify that it would be effective after July 1st. Because, and be out of the contingency fund, is that correct? Kelly?
That's where you, if you don't want it to come out of buildings and ground,
I don't think it should come out of this.
then contingency, yes.
Thank you.
Why, that would give a break to buildings and grounds that they've saved a lot of money that, or they'd have
But
to
with
do it
trees-
themselves.
That's what I was thinking. They'd have to, they would have to do it. Harold would have to go over there and cut the trees.
Right.
Okay.
Well, there were a couple that, I did meet with Gordon and go over what, if those trees would be okay if they came down. He did not have an issue with it. That's up to you then.
What do you think? Should have come out of the DPW budget.
Or out of contingency.
Doesn't matter to me. I'm just saying. we should pay-
$1,100. I mean.
No, you're
It's
right.
only $1,100.
Right.
That's all, that's true.
It's town property. It's not like,
Right.
Okay,
Well, that's what DPW does, take care of it.
so
doesn't have it, take it out of contingency.
I'm going to ask that the second be withdrawn and the motion be withdrawn, and then you re-say the motion. Specifically to pay Stanley Tree for the $1,100 and where the money's coming from. Please, and thank
After
you.
July 1st.
After July 1st.
So,
I withdraw my second.
Withdraw my motion.
so now I will accept the motion to pay $1,100 after July 1st, 2024 to Stanley Tree coming out of
Contingency.
TPW. TPW.
DPW,
Yeah.
fair enough.
You said it.
Okay,
So moved.
Second.
all in favor,
Aye.
discussion? I see.
Oops.
Mr. Chippy
Uh-oh.
saying-
Uh-oh.
Go ahead,
Union
discussion.
grievance.
No, Harold should be 49 manager. Just a question. Are they gonna clean them up too, or are we responsible
No,
for that
they're
too?
cleaning
Oh,
up.
okay. Yep.
It
They're
says.
doing the whole
The
thing.
tree in front of the swine barn, small tree behind the swine barn. If possible, tree behind the poultry rabbit barn,
They're-
tree in
they're-
front
they're
of the dairy
dangerous.
barn.
They got hit by lightning a few times.
Yeah, potentially a few more.
They're just gonna come in and clean them right up.
Yeah,
I have one
Go
more
on.
thing to add. It can't simply be that we don't pay them until July 1st. They can't do the work till July 1st, because from an audit standpoint, if they do the work
Okay.
before July 1st, we owe
I
it,
will.
whether the, yeah. Okay,
I will tell her that.
thank you.
It's an hour.
When you face this way.
It doesn't follow me around.
Oh, technicalities.
It's the only council
Okay.
president with two microphones.
Yeah, you're important.
I'd be involved.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay, we're done with that one.
We haven't voted yet. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. I will let Ms. Fitzgerald know that tomorrow. Moving on. Work request, procedure memo, department heads. Okay. So you have in your packet, as we discussed in the past during executive session discussions about how to get that work request flow. Because some department heads are pulled in different directions. There doesn't seem to be a rhyme or reason. Sometimes somebody just calls. So here's a memo. If somebody would like to read it.
All right. To the Honorable Forster Town Council, June 13th, 2024. This is the subject of work.
It's
request
from us, not. to
From
us.
the Honorable Forster Town
Okay.
Council to the department heads. Work request procedure. In the interest of clear communication, and so the town council maintains awareness of the activities, work, and interactions occurring in town hall. The following procedure is to be followed when making requests between town departments. Rule 1, all requests are to be made to the respective department heads. Department heads are Sue Dillon, Town Clerk, Director of Social Services, Allison Bouchard, Building and Zoning Official, George Dumont, Town Solicitor, Mark Torgy, Esquire, Julia Cretion, during regular business hours, and Joanna Achille is Planning and Zoning. The Planning Official is Grant McGregor, the Department of Public Works is Gordon Rogers, Police Chief is Gina Marie Lendell, and Finance Director is Kelly Russ. All requests shall be made in writing by email, text, or hard copy note. The council liaison for the department to whom the request is being made shall be CC'd on the written request. Clerk of the office is Cheryl Hawes, Social Services Denise DeFranco, Building and Zoning is David Paolino, Town Solicitor is Denise DeFranco, Planning is David Paolino, Public Works is Chris Stone, Police is Denise DeFranco, and Finance is Heidi Rogers. All communications regarding the request shall include the liaison as well. Why all?
What is the pleasure of the council? And then I have a couple of questions.
I have a problem with it.
Can you make a motion first and or do you want to discuss?
I'll let
it?
them make a motion. I'm not making a motion on this one.
Okay.
Well, I make a motion for discussion that we move forward with the memorandum of work request procedures.
Second.
Discussion.
My problem is this is too broad. It's like we're micromanaging each department head, and I don't think that's fair to them, nor do I think it's fair to us. I don't want to receive 100 emails from Sue saying somebody asked her for this and what.
No, I don't think that's the way.
It's broad in here. It's too broad. That's what my point is.
So I
What do you
think,
mean? It sounds pretty specific
And
to me.
another council coming in can interpret it another way too.
so I had a couple of questions.
Okay.
I don't believe Mrs. Dillon has a liaison.
Well, I saw that and I was surprised.
Right. Oh, I did not think you had a liaison, but I wasn't sure, but I thought
I
it
was-
was Cheryl, but I did not think you had a liaison. So that's one thing. My interpretation of this, and here's where the interpretation is that, say, Mrs. Dillon needs, or Miss Russ needs a roll of paper towels. Okay, so she sends an email to DPW and department head and says, and CC's.
I think that's crazy. That's absolutely,
All right, so maybe a paper towel isn't
No,
Good
I
example.
don't think we should, I don't think anybody should be sending an email about paper towels.
okay.
But a complaint about a road,
We do.
eh,
They go in writing from the.
From who?
She puts it in writing and sends it to Gordon on anything that comes.
see, this is where I think.
the first one I ever got from Jane was today.
Well, no, she sends it to Gordon.
Chris's microphone's not on.
Oh,
Gonna get jammed up.
okay.
Say that
So-
again.
Those go to the DPW director. She.
So
reports-
what Denise is asking, what this memo is all about, is for her to copy that on that,
Matt,
me.
there's a
copy
far,
me on that.
huge
Difference.
cry between
Right, a roll of paper
taking
towels.
a complaint from a taxpayer and telling Gordon in writing and you in writing versus every communication that we have where we're asking something
didn't-
of each other.
I-
This
I
is
don't-
how it reads. Every communication that we have that's asking something of another department has to be in writing, which I don't think you realize is very time consuming because generally speaking, if it's something that can be addressed in one phone call, we address it in a phone call. And I don't want to have to document that phone call 10 minutes later and take twice as long to do every single thing I do.
Okay, so without letting the cats out of the bag or airing out our dirty laundry, there are times where things need to be
Right, and,
documented.
right,
So maybe using a paper towel isn't a good example, but
but
I was trying to
I-
not air dirty laundry.
I get that
So-
part,
Let's be realistic.
but
let's
that's
be
what it could come
common
down to.
sense-
That's what I'm saying.
Common
this,
sense as to whether or not things,
but your common sense and your sense of what is commonality or whatever that you would expect is not necessarily what's going to happen in 6 months, because your view of what should be discussed or you should be included on might be different from David's, might be different from
So-
Chris's, which is why it's in writing. What's in writing is basically everything. Every kind of request from one department to another needs to be in writing, copy to everybody. And honestly, I don't want to receive that many emails
That would never.
and I don't want to
occur.
have to actually
I
document.
don't think it
them.
has to go to everybody,
Well,
but
It says that, but I don't think,
No.
if, in business, this would never happen.
Never happened.
No,
You did, I used to have to request things in writing.
not me. And I've never seen a contract for our
So-
school.
so
where they do that.
requesting things in writing and copying your principal for everything are two different things.
No, I couldn't request something unless I went to my principal. I had
don't
to go
know
to
what
my
kind of request
principal,
you're
but
referring to.
if I needed a roll of paper towels, I had to go to my principal.
Yeah, I
and
can't
say,
work like that.
I need
gotta be
can't.
honest.
He was micromanaging all of you.
I can't do a
Yeah, I
job.
tell you.
I can't do a job at work without a work order.
That's a job.
I have to have,
That's a
it's
totally
the same
different-
thing,
No, it's not.
Shirley.
It's not the same
So
thing.
Julia, do you
It is
copy,
not.
do
One
you
second.
copy Mark on every email that you send?
She probably has to because she works under him.
That's not the same thing, but no, I don't think she does.
You asked.
No,
you
I
asked
do
Julia
CC
questions
Denise on
like
a lot of emails
I do
to keep the
too.
council in the loop.
I actually
On
do.
almost everything.
I actually do too, but in this case, like, we're talking that she's not actually my liaison, one. But if I were to communicate something with Tyler, if Tyler's there in the morning, I communicate with Tyler, which Gina
It's
is
not
aware of.
asking you to communicate, if you communicate.
It's actually saying that I
Department
can't.
heads.
It's actually saying that I can't,
Mhm.
that I shouldn't be, that I should also be going to the chief.
Right.
It's, if you really read it with the
Right.
intent that anybody could read this. And that will read it after you are no longer here, you're creating a policy that is pretty restrictive and actually a little demeaning and disrespectful
I do
for
agree.
the
And that
professional
was-
positions. And I know
That was
that's
not
your
the intent.
No, I know
So
that.
don't put it out there. that
No,
was.
I'm not saying that
You
it
did.
is.
You
No.
just did, but it's not the
This-
intent.
I
No,
know
but it
that.
can
I'm
be
not saying
construed
that
as
it is,
that.
but if you go and read it to the letter and how somebody else might apply it. Right?
For example, next, in November, there might be 5 different people. here,
Correct.
And they can interpret it that
That's
way,
exactly right. And
the way it was stated.
if you go reread it,
About it. Just go.
I didn't say that. I simply said,
Chief,
The example that Chris Stone mentioned, if there's, say, for instance, there's a complaint. All right, a complaint comes in.
Mhm.
To me. And I have to do something, but I find that if, as adults, I carry a gun, I've been doing this quarter of a century, we're all adults, we've been doing this a long time. I absolutely agree with Ms. Hawes that it seems very micromanaging, and I understand I do understand your intent. However, how it comes across is micromanaging, and personally, I do not like micromanaging, especially if it doesn't even apply to the town council, if it doesn't even apply, I can handle it, like I can handle it,
But I
but
think, see, that's where I disagree. I think everything applies to the council.
I don't, because if I can handle it and
Yes,
and I'm
I
not
agree.
bugging you guys about
That
something.
I
that-
agree, but there are times where we should know things that are going on.
Well, that's that's
we
exact,
just-
that's where I'm going with this. If
that's
there's
where
a
the
com-
manager
It's
should know that.
It's interdepartmental communications we're thinking
If
about.
there's an
right,
if
not
there's an
within your department.
interdepartmental issue, a complaint made by a resident about DPW. And the DPW director is advised, say it comes into Sue. A DPW complaint and it goes into Sue. Sue has to advise Gordon of this complaint. It has to, this is much too broad. We have to, I think, maybe as department heads get together and kind of bring this in a little bit, because it's too little piddly things that could go into Sue. She could call Gordon. He goes, oh yeah, I can move that log tomorrow and it's done. But if it's something bigger, Windsor Road. That I think.
discussing that next week in open session.
Let's talk about.
Just in an example,
Central Pike.
Central Pike, then I think you should be CC'd on it, because that's a town problem, not a communication between Kelly and I. For instance, we talk all the time. I mean, she'll call me and say, I need X, Y, and Z. I'll call her and say, I need X, Y, and Z. And it's between department heads. It's definitely between department heads, and we get it done. We don't involve anybody else. We just get it done. So maybe,
Could we have one conversation? Because I'm hearing a lot over there, so it's not picked up here. Okay, thank you.
so maybe, my suggestion is this isn't a bad idea. Just the way it's presented is not,
Yes.
it's gonna, you're gonna get killed with a billion emails. You're gonna get killed with a billion texts and don't forget, if we do anything text on our cell phones
Yeah,
and
that-
something
I'm
gets
not doing-
subpoenaed,
yeah.
your cell phone belongs to whomever it subpoenas
I
you.
know
So
that.
I suggest you never do it in text, ever on your cell phone.
Emails can also be subpoenaed.
Email, yeah, but it does say text messages on
I'm
here.
just saying.
May I
yeah,
But the problem
interrupt
with
for a minute?
tax is that it's our
Let she
personal,
finish.
it's
Slow
our
down,
personal
finish.
phone.
She-
Well, I
Slow down.
wanted to see if
Finish.
this is what she's thinking.
What?
I think it's a good, I understand the intent, but when I read this, I went, holy crap, this is way too much. But what I think I heard you say, in which I agree, is perhaps the department heads could sit down and
With you.
formalize something with themselves and then run it by us and see how we feel about it.
Or sit down with you
oh, yeah.
and come up with a plan as to what you need to be
Right.
involved in. And I know that you cannot go through a crystal ball and figure out every single scenario that's going to happen
Yeah.
because you never know. But this is too broad. It seems kind of babyish to me. It's like, and under the thumb. That's what it seems like to me. If it's as broad as how I think we're all seeing this, but I think if we bring it in and talk about more specific instances where Paolina would have to be, DeFranco would have to be CC, Chris would have to be C, then I think you won't get inundated. We won't feel like we're being micromanaged, and we'll be able to handle things amongst ourselves unless we kind of can. If something comes up and I kind of can't handle it, and I've called you, Denise, I've called you and
I
said,
know.
I got something I need to run by you because I don't really quite know how to handle this because it involves the town or it involves more than one person. So you're the first person I go to if I need more
And I'm not
advice.
disputing that.
Right, and that's just how I see this, but I think we need to bring it in.
The other thing is too, there were two things to this that I think that the majority of what you were trying to. I don't think this was the execution that you were wanting. I think that because it can be interpreted very strictly. And I think what you wanted was to make sure that the department heads knew what people were asking. For example, if somebody were to go to Karen and direct her workflow for the day, I should have a say in that. You know what I mean? And I believe that's part of.
Another question, but go ahead.
I believe that's what started it, right? That we want the department heads to be aware of requests that are being made, that because we monitor how they complete their work. And if we have a project for them, we should have a say in how this is done. So there's two components. And generally speaking, we do. So we could have a policy or whatever that at least that we all know that the department heads are in the know. But the whole, like, this is pretty excessive in its actual meaning if you read it.
So you bring out a good point,
Mhm.
because I have, I guess, two things the tax assessor and the tax collector used to be department heads.
That's what
Are they
I would say.
still
They're not in
department?
charter as department heads. They report to the department. head, which is,
Let's,
In the past, they've been considered department heads. I'm assuming that no longer happens. But
Per the
that-
charter.
Thank you, Mrs. Dillon.
Well, I mean, we could
But I-
change it.
No, I'm not asking for it to be changed.
I want to
I'm
move the
saying-
question.
Okay, let's move the question. Thank you. Let's move on. We're at,
I'm gonna take a vote. We got a motion.
oh, you moved the question. I
Yeah.
forgot there was a motion made.
That's
Thank
what I
you.
meant.
Motion's been made, it's been seconded, there's been discussion. What's the pleasure of the council? All
No,
in favor?
I vote no.
No. No. There we go.
Okay,
Well,
now,
we're supposed to-
put it on the next agenda.
Here we go. Let's go to the next one.
Thank you.
We're DPW requests approval for the turf tank 3-year rental agreement. We had discussed this before, thought that it was a good idea. So I guess we just have
Rather
to,
than- I think rather than buy it outright.
yeah,
Mhm.
yep, yeah. We looked at both ways. And renting it, I think, is the better way, because if it breaks, it's theirs.
But when we talked about it during the budget cycle, it was 9,000. It wasn't like a total of 13,000. I think it's closer to 13 change, which is significantly more than what we discussed originally during the budget. His whole budget for that field maintenance is about 15,000 if I'm correct. And his budget overall was already cut. And my other point was, I never remember, I just saw this the other day, and Gordon has talked to me about it, but I never remember a 3-year term ever being discussed until we got this. When we talked about it during the budget, it was never like, it was renting it for sure. But I didn't think we ever discussed 3 years, because what if we don't like it? Like, what if they find a better way?
I thought it was 3 years always, when I went out to see it.
Oh, maybe when you went to see it, they talked about it being 3 years, but it was never in my purview that it would cost 36,000 over 3 years. Because at that point, you are looking at like the option to buy it after like 6, because you could buy something like that, I'm assuming within 6 years. So my point is there any way to kind of see if we can negotiate it for 1 year to see if it's something that works for us as a community? We've never even maintained this field for a whole year. We don't know its usage. We don't know how and we don't actually know how long it's gonna last. So say, not the machine itself, but say they paint it, is it gonna last 3 days? Is it gonna last 3 weeks? And they'll know after they use it for a year. So to commit the town to 3 years, if it's not a requirement to get it, is there a way to look into that?
Chris,
Because
what
I
do you
think it might be
What
better
do you think,
overall.
Chris? Have there been any discussion on 1 year, 2 year, 3 year?
The first time I looked at it was this afternoon. I mean, we
Yeah.
did discuss it,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Has been discussed, and I
Yeah.
do remember 3 years.
but if they're gonna
But
use
maybe
the
it wasn't
field,
when I
he
was at
needs
the
it.
field. Right.
I'm sorry.
If they're gonna use the field, he needs it.
But I'm not saying they don't need it. I'm just saying that I have been here long enough to see that one person will say, you have to have that tractor. And then you buy that tractor and that tractor, somebody else comes in and they hate that tractor. They're like, it's a piece of garbage. And before we commit to $36,000 I would like to see us use it for a year. I'm not even sure it's possible.
How much time do we have?
I don't think they'll rent it to you for a year.
I didn't know. I don't know. I honestly have been so absorbed with the homestead and implementation of it. I didn't really look into the details of this until like the last day or two. And I
We have-
haven't had a
Do you have
chance
time,
to vet it.
Denise? Do we have time so Gordon can discuss this with the rental agreement? Folks?
Well, it's not gonna take place until July 1st.
I know, but
Right,
there's,
well, David's question
oh
is,
yeah, right?
do we have, so it's not gonna take place until July 1st, so I would assume we have some time.
Chris, do you think you can get in touch with Gordon? And find out if it's reasonable to renegotiate this? What are our options? Or are we stuck with 3 years?
Or an option to get out of it after a year? Like what the,
Can't get a hold of Gordon tonight, I know that.
No, yeah, that's fair. That's okay. We get it. So, I don't know, I mean, why vote on it now? Or why not approve it now?
I don't know why it's on here to begin with.
Well, I think it's
I
fair.
didn't put it on there.
He did,
Yes,
okay.
so evidently he thinks he needs it.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, what we're talking about, the only question is, would we be better off entering into it for 1 year first to see what it's like?
I don't
Is
think
it
you'll
an
rent it
option?
to you for 1 year.
Okay, that was my question.
You think,
Are
you don't
sure?
know though.
Okay,
You're right, Cheryl.
No, so I'm saying we can ask, right? Does not hurt, doesn't hurt to ask.
So we don't vote on it tonight. We put it on the next meeting.
is that too late?
Is that too late?
that's
I
my
don't
question.
know. I can't answer the questions.
what do you?
I didn't talk to him about this. I didn't have time
Make the motion
this
to
week
approve it.
to.
He didn't have time this week to do it anyway.
I'm trying to listen to the council first, and I've seen your information, so thank you. But I will let you speak in one moment. I don't know either.
I mean, I'm not against it at all. But I'm thinking it's not a terrible point. Does it have to be 3
Right.
years? Because, it's just all about compromise.
Is it a full, I'm sorry, again, I didn't have enough time to really vet it. But is it a full rental agreement? Like, do we own it at the end of 3 years? Or
No.
is it just strictly a rental for 3
It's
years? So we're gonna have
strictly a
to
rental.
keep doing this.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying 1 year and then you decide that's something you want to go, why would we? I don't want to say waste, but spend $36,000 renting something that you're gonna have to rent forever. At that point, what's the value to own something like that? You know?
Harold, do you have anything to add?
Harold Shippey, 49 Manager. I wouldn't own it. The thing is very expensive. It is very complicated. It's GPS setup, lasers and everything else. You own it, you're gonna spend a lot of money in maintenance and everything else. So I would, it's very complicated.
I
You
mean,
know,
$13,000 is a
I
significant.
don't think it's
amount
a
of money.
discussion as to owning, but the rental, whether it's a.
Well,
They said 3, but you have
well,
to ask.
if you rent it or lease it, the good thing is to
We don't
Harold's
have to
point,
support.
is we don't have to support it. We can get support. And that's that's definitely included in the price.
Yeah.
Is this support constantly for software upgrades, training?
I have
Maintenance.
I have.
So
Could
we
we
either
gotta
do
have-
this, or you hire another DPW guy and paint it by hand.
I don't think that they're talking about not
No, it's a
doing
good
it.
idea, Chris.
They're
Not a
talking
bad
about-
idea. Longevity.
They're talking about a year versus 3
I
years.
don't think you,
Okay.
Okay.
So let's vote
and
on
that's
it.
me just thinking,
Let's vote
the
on it.
thing's
based
too
on the-
expensive to lease for a year.
So let's just vote on it as presented by Gordon for DPW, I mean.
So, Mrs. Ryder, you wanted to say something? And then Phil, I'll call on you.
When I saw this on the agenda, I did not know what a turf tank was.
Oh, we've been talking about it.
Well, I mean, but I did not know it was this little robot that, oh, it's adorable.
Expensive,
But
but
I,
cute.
I went online and I investigated it. And I watched some videos about it. And there was this one company, Cut Crew Limited, they're a ground maintenance company. And they maintain ball fields for lots of people. They have these machines. And they did a pro and con kind of thing. And they also did a demonstration where they had somebody set up the robot and then somebody do it by hand with one of these little machines that lays down. the
They did
lines.
that at the field.
Right. And the guy doing it by hand won. The robot has, a few issues. Number one, setting it up with the GPS. You have to do it every single time. You can't just
I'm not sure with this one, but go ahead.
Okay. And if it's muddy, they get stuck. If it runs into a depression, they can get stuck. They don't tell you that they're running out of paint, so you have to be watching it to make sure it doesn't run out of paint. And in the video, they did an entire soccer pitch, soccer field. And it was like 18 minutes for the person doing it. Now, granted, that's not a football field where you're doing all these lines, but it was no time at all. So I reached out to the company and I asked, I said, I live in a small town and would it be worth it for them to rent this? Yes, exactly. Would it be worth it for them to rent this piece of equipment? And they came back and said, and I'm quoting, in my opinion, no, you'd need to be marking a hell of a lot to warrant that expense for a couple of fields. So, I mean, they do have the walk behind machine that is,
Phil, come on up. 1 minute, let Mr. Keith.
When I saw that, I took a look at it too. And, what the companies are saying, and there's several that make these, is if you have 7 or 8 ball fields all in one area, it makes some sense if you're worried about man hours. If you're not worried, if you only have 1 or 2 fields like we do here in Forster,
And
it's
6 employees, but go ahead.
1 or 2 fields.
Right.
It makes no sense. You can purchase one of these line marker, anywhere from $60 to $590. Now they're manual, but that's a lot cheaper than $13,000. $13,000 when someone has to still sit there and babysit the machine. So you're not really saving any man hours.
Thank you. Harry, you had your hand up.
I have a picture of it right here, if anybody wanted to see it.
Up on the big screen.
Oh,
Up there on the big screen.
Thanks, Hal.
Same thing.
Thank you.
it's kind of different.
It's
It-
different.
It's made in Denmark. Everything else. There's only 5 of us. We don't have the manpower. We keep increasing. I've been here 34 years. We keep increasing more things for the DPW to do. And to walk behind that, it's gonna take like 3 hours to do that field. He intended to do the other soccer field at Woody Loudon's and also maybe the baseball field with, and it's all programmed in there. What his idea was, once you go there, it sets, it goes to goalpost to goalpost. It gets its GPS. It goes and it does its thing. It saves, I forgot how much paint.
Yeah.
Because a human uses more paint. The computer doesn't. You're gonna save on the paint and everything else. While that thing is doing its thing, guys weed whacking and mowing the other fields and everything else. We just don't have the personnel to do all this. We got $1 million investment down there. And it's gonna cost maintenance. Maybe we shouldn't have built it, but it's there and we got it now.
What? I don't want to go on this, 'cause I'm not committed either way, just about 36. I thought a 3-year commitment when we're not even sure if it's
I
right.
understand what you're saying.
But if it's manpower, even they were talking about, if you hired somebody at $30 an hour times $3, 3 hours a week, times twice a week even, times 14 or 16 weeks, it's still less than $3,000. But then you would need some sort of machine, you need the paint, so there's more involved. I get all
I
that.
do remember the gentleman,
I'm just saying.
the gentleman.
One of the problems is it's starting it originally.
Is your mic?
It's a,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
No, it's not.
Yes, it
The
is.
band's on.
His
The thing
his
isn't
numbers
red,
are
though.
here, are on.
my mic is on.
Okay, but it's not red, that's all.
We'll look into the LED, that's what confused me earlier.
Yeah,
His numbers.
Okay.
yeah.
So starting out, you have to measure it.
Mm.
You'd have to actually create
Template.
that image on the field originally. So somebody has to go out and measure each line, make sure that half circles.
Mrs.
are
Ryder,
right.
thank you. You spoke. Thank you.
With the machine, you're not-
I do know when I went out and observed the gentleman, they use this machine in this company at Gillette. He does it at Patriots. That was one of the things. But they, thank you. They also said that the amount of paint that's wasted by doing it by manual. The other thing, which I agree with Harry, excuse me, is we don't have the manpower to be going and doing this. And I don't know how often it has to be done.
Depends on wear and tear and weather.
Right. 3 years may not be something. So do we go and see whether or not they'll do a year or 2 years? I don't know. I don't even remember if a motion's been made. It has been made. I haven't,
Did we?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think we
have it
made a
on my-
Go
motion.
ahead, Chris.
So. I mean, what's the pleasure of the council? We have a DPW director that made a recommendation.
Well, and I
I
think the
think maybe
original,
we need more information from him, that's all.
I think the original.
Well, we've had meetings on this several times already.
Yeah, he approved it last time.
I know.
We agreed.
It
Right.
wasn't that much money, as I recall either, right? I didn't think it was that much money, but
Make a
like you
motion.
said, 36. No, I thought you made a
We had,
motion.
no, don't have it in my notes that a motion's been made. I do not have, do you have a motion been made, Mrs. Dillon?
Okay.
No.
I make a motion to approve the request for a turf tank with 3-year rental agreement.
Second.
Further discussion.
I think we should go back to to Gordon and ask him if he can do it year by year instead of a 3-year agreement.
Well, can you approve one
Right,
and
that's what I
still
mean.
approve it? No, what I'm saying is still approve
I
it
guess
and ask
I guess we could, I could amend my motion
to try to do it, and then if
to
not.
approve a 1-year agreement.
That's their choice.
Is that a compromise that you can live with, Denise?
Oh, yeah. Then you.
Can I withdraw the motion?
My question there is that's not the contract that exists. This is a
Right, so I'm
ratification
signing
of a
this
this,
contract.
this is an approval of a contract.
It's not a proposal.
Not-
it's actually-
no.
Okay,
It's an approval of a contract.
okay,
Well,
understood.
I don't think he should enter into a 3-year contract until he asks those questions. That's my opinion.
That's why I asked Chris if he knew if
Yeah.
Gordon had talked to anybody yet. Why is it? Yeah, I'm sorry. I know, I get you. I know what you're saying.
So
You can't be everywhere.
for football?
I don't know.
Oh,
Soccer?
yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, the motion's been made and seconded.
Further discussion? Someone have their hand up? You did. Yeah, go ahead. Colleen.
Helene Dolce, South Killingley Road. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but what I'm not hearing is how cost effective it would be. Like if you to do an analysis of how many games in the year are you projected that will be needed to have the lines drawn? Is it worth, what is it, 36,000?
For 3 years.
For three-
13,000
if-
per year.
If it's, you're right, exactly. You could pay me, I'll do it. You know, but I'm just saying, there's 4 fields, how often are those fields?
Well, you can't tell because the more they're used, there's gonna be
Yes,
marks on the field.
Yeah,
It's gotta be
but
redone.
how many games are you projecting are gonna be, they're all being used full time?
I think the new ball fields will absolutely be used all the time. Evidently, from the discussions we've been part of, there's plenty, people are coming in and asking to be
fields are
bussed
great.
in from other places to use the field.
That's all, I just didn't, I'm hoping there's a.
The
cost
football
analysis
teams
Kind of
of-
thing.
Chomping at the bit to get on that field.
Mr. Shippey.
Harold Shippey, 49 Monroe J. Also, to look at it, we're supposed to be, what Recreation was requesting that we do football and soccer, so that's double lines.
Right.
And now they're talking about pickleball and, the thing does all kinds of
Flag.
things, the software,
Flag
the
football was
different,
the other, were 3. There was football, flag football, and soccer that all have different.
But-
all,
But
that's
pickleball
like
is
doing it,
growing quickly.
But
and it's
pickleball
gonna be-
isn't on that field. It's
the
on the
court.
tennis
the
court.
grass will grow because it's gonna be sprinkled. It's gonna be getting water, so it's gonna be cut and then the lines are gone.
We understand.
Catherine, did you have something?
It's-
No, oh.
it's a waste of money.
We have that much interest, and we invested so much into it. Should make it look good. If we have that interest.
All right, so a motion's been made, it's been seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
I,
Opposed, no? 3 to 1. Okay. The next one is a request of the DPW request approval for paving of Boswell Trail. So that's, is it piggybacking on, is it Bristol's? Bristol's, bid. So
we've spoken about this too. Right.
what is the pleasure of the council?
Is. I think he's projecting it at about 535,000 or something, if I'm
Or it
correct.
says 520.
So that's the amount you're gonna, I don't know how you're, because the bid itself was for Yeah, I know what you're asking. And I'm looking right here. He sent something. He said, so their bid was very extensive and very specific. So I was trying, so he did send me an email. Hold on. But again, I couldn't, he said something about, because I said they were very specific and their contract was for over $1 million. So which portions of their bid would we be looking at verifying their pricing? And all info here for our town will only be going to use the asphalt costs and the grinding and milling costs. So if you can find those two on that bid, I would assume that that's what he's asking us to approve. So there was a detail. So can you write that down? Asphalt and milling, right? And then he gave me this. This was all yesterday. Hold on, but again,
We don't have that, right?
I don't know if you do. I haven't.
I have a breakout
You do?
of the bids.
Do you see anything
didn't
on
see
there
that.
specific to asphalt and milling?
Back is an offer action.
Right, and that, but he has a very breakout, he has a significant breakout
I
of
don't-
each thing. So is there an asphalt portion and a milling portion on here? Rock excavation, gravel,
But the gravel sub base, is that part of it that they're looking for? The gravel sub base? That's 9,100.
Are you talking
But
about
it's-
micro milling?
it's what you want is the price per,
He has here
Fine.
that paving, scheduling is very competitive. That,
I don't see it.
It's on this. It says new fiscal year purchases.
Five is the micro.
okay, yeah, so he said asphalt and micro milling,
Did you
so.
breakdown?
It's on the.
So on this proposal and that, you know. Paving schedule is very competitive around with the weather. Yeah, but, we have 400,000 in capital approved. State paving on state match will be
get us to, yeah.
up to 533,000. We have plans to do restoration on Boswell Trail for Beta Bend at Wilson, 525. 525,000 from Bernard Road / Cardi. We will pick back on new bristles. Just awarded to Bernard Road, Cardi, so. No need to go out to RFP.
So if I'm reading this correctly, it'd be 525,000.
So I think that's what, so is there a way to approve I have no problem with the piggyback of the bid. My problem is for purchasing, we still have to prove that you follow as many of the procedures as possible, which is your approval. But I also need to be able to see how when you piggyback, how their bid that they can be translated, so to speak, to our project. So if you can see, his total bid was over $1 million change. They have all these separate components. So what I really need to satisfy the purchasing of it and the purchasing policy is the translation. But I have no problem with you approving them as a vendor. And then you can approve the maximum cost of the project.
I see.
And then they will have to provide me the translation between what he has submitted with Bristol and what our project is, so
And
that
you want
I
it
can
to say-
provide all of that and save all of
You
that
want
for the
a-
auditor.
Right. You
So-
want- So you. A motion to approve Venable / County
Yeah,
to complete
to
complete the paving.
project.
The project on Boswell Trail not to exceed 525,000.
Right, and that will satisfy if we had gone out for an RFP, that would satisfy your approval of the project, your approval of the contractor, And then if he wants to use this piggyback, I needed a little bit more information,
Right,
and with the
because it's
timing,
not
I
gonna
still
right.
can't see the translation. He's gonna have to show me that like I'm an idiot
Yeah,
because I
it's
can't
not gonna
follow it.
cost us as much as it's gonna cost Bristol.
No,
So you
not
need
in
to know
total.
how
I need to
much-
know
Right,
the
how
his
much it's gonna
detail.
be for
Yep,
milling, how much
Yep,
it's gonna be for.
exactly,
paving, how much
because
it's gonna be.
when you piggyback, you have to
So-
show what you're piggybacking. You can't just make it up after. That's not a real.
They so moved, it's been too much time. To your statement and now.
So I would accept a motion to approve the DPW's the DPW director's request for paving Boswell Trail to be completed by Venagro/Cotty, not to exceed $525,000.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Well, he said he had 400,000 budgeted, right?
Yep, and then
That's
with the
correct.
capital,
It would
with
come
the
from
money from
capital,
the state
okay.
matching from the state.
We're gonna spend 500 and whatever thousand, and then the state will reimburse us a third. And the reason this has to be on now, he wants to commit,
Right.
but also in order to get this pool of money, the contract, the encumbrance has to be.
Right. So.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Moving on to DPW Director's request for approval of a skid steer purchase. So he makes a note here that the new fiscal year with the final second capital funds into purchase a skid steer. We had sampled several at the yard and settled on a case from Monroe Equipment with a spare bucket and parking lots sweeper cost at just under 95,000. They are on the state's MPA list
Master purchase master purchase agreement.
for list for state vendor. So we do not have to go out to bid. The machine is in the yard as we are 3 weeks out from July 1st. Monroe did not want to pull out. Forward the PO and states. So he's looking for us to approve the 95,000.
He's
His request.
The request to use, it's just the same thing.
Okay.
That's our policy. So if you're trying to not go out for bid
Not
for
to
something
exceed
like
the
that,
95,000.
so that you're approving the purchase of the skid steer from that vendor, we actually have a policy too now that we look to verify that the vendor's not disbarred or debarred or suspended, and he's not. So the other thing I would like you again to prove, because I don't have the master purchase agreement, that has to be vetted and viewed before the actual purchase takes place, because again, if it doesn't hold true, just saying it's true doesn't make it true. So I have to prove that for the auditor, because that's what's allowing you to not go out to bid. So I don't have, again, you're gonna do the same thing as the last time. You're gonna approve the purchase but it cannot happen until we have proven, provided all the documentation required by the,
You vetted the required documentation.
until, yeah,
Contingent upon meeting for the audit requirements associated with use of the.
right. Exactly. Because I don't have them in place now. I
I will
don't.
accept a motion to approve the DPW director's request to purchase a skid steer from Monroe Equipment not to exceed $95,000.
So moved.
Contingent upon the documentation required.
Required by the
For-
audit standards,
audit
our
standards.
internal control. That's basically what it's.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. I'll accept a motion to go into executive session.
I move to go into executive closed section pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-5. Which one?
It would be in regards to contract negotiation litigation.
for discussion or work sessions regarding collective bargaining, contract negotiations, or litigation according to Rhode Island General Laws 42-6-5A2.
Second.
All of discussion, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Have a nice weekend. Happy Father's Day to whoever, and thanks for coming out.
Yep.